How dare you?
Haha, yes, indeed. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Kev Baker, and I am here with you for the next 3 hours. Now, it's not just going to be me today. Don't panic, don't panic. Scott Lopez will be here as well. He's getting his supper right now. Need a Scott with full belly. I want him fully concentrated. I want him fully content, because we are going to be diving down the most woo of rabbit holes tonight. It's going to be ghosts. It's going to be ghouls. I don't know, there might even be goblins along the way. But yes, it's going to be back to basics on Freaky Friday. All the good stuff, and as we call it on here, the woo. But there'd be no Freaky Friday without any of you out there. And as has become tradition now on a Friday, I head on over to the chat room at tfrlive.com. Now, it's totally free to get into. You just head on over to tfrlive.com/chat. And in there, you can join the rest of the wonderful Wookiees. Now, you've got about 30 seconds or so to head on over there. I'll give you your very special shout out, and I'll just get a little drink of coffee before we launch off on what is going to be a pit stop tour of Rabbit Hole X. Forget Area 51. Forget all that nonsense. Yes, Rabbit Hole X. Now, I just have noticed that Scotty Lopez is messaged. Let me see here. He's going to be here after the first segment, folks. And, of course, I am going to be opening up the phones later on in the show. Last night's Kev Baker show produced absolutely amazing calls as usual. And I actually put them in a little standalone video over on the YouTube channel. Some of the topics that the callers brought up, just absolutely amazing. I'm looking forward to hearing from all of you again today. Now, I'll give out the numbers as the show progresses, but we'll head into the chat room first. So, here we go. Now, Spooky Andy is also messaged as well. Sorry about this, folks. We're doing it live. Yes, we're doing it live. So then, I am going into the chat room right now. So if you're in there, get ready. You're going to get your shout out. I start off with myself, obviously. Being some kind of egomaniac. I'm only joking. I'm not. Then we've got Sophia the robot. She's not really the Sophia the robot, but she's a chatbot. She participates from time to time. Don't be scared of her. She's not one of these super AIs, and that is a super chat. Wow.
Happy Friday, Kevin. Wonderful chatters.
Oh, thank you very much, Feminem. I love that name. You got your shout out there as well. Are you a rapper? With a name like that, you should be. But then we've got the start of the Wookiees in the Wookiee Cave. Our good friend Bam is in there. Always great to see Bam in there. And our friend from down under, Ken Rotman, in the chat room as well. And Ken, the first place on our whistle stop tour of the Woo tonight is actually Australia. Okay, so I know that'll be quite close to your heart, brother. So then we've got Cold Brews, something that goes down well in Australia. We have V-Lash, Melissa, Shitsu Bigelow 2, Gemini, Epic Journeyman. Big shout out to you, brother. We've got Lurens, One Polynation. Big shout out to you as well, Polly. I know you made a big life change today. And I'm not giving away any secrets, folks. He was telling people in Discord, but thinking of you, brother. And, you know, everything happens for a reason, Polly. And then we have DJ Caveman. Now, I had to re-listen to DJ Caveman today, his call, because it didn't quite sink in at the time just how profound that was. out of body experiences, all that kind of woo. Brilliant stuff, brother. We've got Bellamonte in there, Joseph Skynet as well, Bogle, Spreadlove, and No Way Jose. Awesome. Thank you all for being here today. Thank you to everyone on the YouTube TFR live stream as well. I've got my live stream going. There's a plethora of people coming in from multiple platforms today. But you haven't tuned in to hear me waffling on and on. I have got some content for us to get to. But yes, thank you all for being here today. Means the world to me. Hit share. And let's get more people over here. Let's get more people into the whole Freaky Friday experience. It's 3 hours of the day where you can just kind of open your mind and let all that other stuff that's going on right now just dwindle away into the background. Let the mists of time and portals and dimensions form in your mind. And who knows where I will take you by the end of this show. I don't know where all this patter and waffle comes from. I don't know. We'll go with it though, right? But first up tonight, like I say, we're going to go to Australia because next weekend I'm super excited about this because we've got some native Australian people coming onto the show next weekend. My good friend and our good friend from the chat room, Mammoth Hunter, aka Jess. She's making a bit of a name for herself on the Kev Baker show, isn't she? Because now she's going to be stepping up and co-hosting with me when I have Luna and Donnie coming on to the show. Now, it's going to be in the daytime UK, and that's for a very specific reason. Because I want it to be more accustomed to, more aimed at the Australian time zone, their kind of nighttime. So it'll be daytime over here, but obviously we'll be doing it on YouTube at the weekend. And, you know, wherever you are, I hope you do manage to catch that because I understand that there's going to be some really, really good information coming out in that show. And it's Australia I go to first. I've seen Luna in the chat today, now I've seen Ken. And what a place to start, right? So let's go all the way down under. And let's dig up some Australian woo. Now, on KBS this week, I've been going full woo. Pedal to the metal, right? Absolutely phenomenal. And tonight it's going to be no different. So we'll start off, we'll go to Australia. And we're going to look at some of the more reputedly haunted locations down there. We hear about all these super scary asylums and things like that over in America, the prisons. Over here, Jason, he does a very good job of touring around some of the most haunted locations in the UK.
I totally have a crush on the other robot voice that you used to have him just a douchebag dummy voice, but I have feelings too.
Lance, I like that voice as well. I've even got an AI with an Australian accent. I think we'll crack her out at some point as well, but thank you very much, Lance. So yeah, over here in the UK, you've got all of the haunted places that we've talked about time and time again. Good friend Jason, he started going round these places, he's filming them. But not very often, me personally, have I looked into haunted locations down under. And there's a pretty rich history down there, so I would imagine there's quite a lot of hauntings. Turns out, I wasn't wrong. So then, if we come over here, and I'll bring up this story. And it says here, 5 of Australia's most haunted places. From ancient times, everyone loves a good ghost story. Don't we just? Yes, indeed. Particularly when it's true. From ancient times, humanity has enjoyed few activities more than the sheer inhumanity of scaring the living daylights out of each other. So it's no shocker to find entire tourist industries built on doing just that. Come with us as we guide you through the walls and down the spooky passageways of 5 of Australia's most chilling places. So the first one is actually called Quarantine Station. Doesn't refer to what's going on now. It says, quote, "Nobody is crazy tonight," our guide whispers, as we stand huddled on the wharf of Quarantine Station by lantern light. From the 1830s to 1984, I mean, that's not a heck of a long time ago. Maybe I'm showing my age there. In this exact spot on the north shore of Sydney Harbour, migrant travellers disembarked from ships that had been tainted by some kind of outbreak. Sound familiar? Hey, here they would stay until considered safe for release into Australia, but some never left. And who could blame them? What a beautiful country it is down there. And the spirits of those who died are said to linger in what many describe as one of the most haunted spots in Australia. In the shower block, between the long rows of long disused cubicles, I feel a draft sweep by me in the pitch black and hear a distant sound of water trickling. But it's when we arrive in the morgue that I really lose my cool. We hear that a ghost with an eye for ladies lurks within, and warned to watch out for a licking feeling around the ankles. Oh, brown chicken, brown cow. I'm out of there, it says. And the accommodation isn't haunted, promises the guide, when the tour draws to a close. Well, that's a relief. We were staying in the first class quarters built for passengers considered too high class for the regular digs. But with our bathroom a short walk along the open veranda, I'm fairly sure I won't be making a visit to the smallest room tonight. It says North Head's use by the quarantine station and the School of Artillery ensured the area's isolation, meaning a diversity of flora and fauna has thrived there. It's rewarding to take a hike through the undergrowth, finishing at a small but perfectly formed beach, where you can watch the Manly ferry zip by as you dip your toes in the shallows. Now, I don't know, when I was thinking Australian hauntings, I was thinking something a whole lot more woo than that. But maybe this is just to warm us up, right? Because now we're going to Fremantle Prison. And I watched something from the Most Haunted team the other night. They're infamous in the UK for a number of reasons, but they're doing some really good work here on YouTube. And if you like the paranormal investigation type stuff, check out Most Haunted on YouTube, Gloucestershire Prison. Now, if my good friend First Paranormal is out there, I know we have a bit of a laugh and a joke about Most Haunted, but you need to see this episode because there's some of the most phenomenal type phenomenon going on when they're investigating that. And they do it really well. Now, there's only two of them, and they've both got one camera each. That's it. So you can pretty much keep an eye on what they're doing all the time. Now, again, doesn't mean it's foolproof, but it certainly seems more genuine than some of their later stuff when they were working with a big TV network. And I'm not here to criticize them for that, but the point I bring it up is to show, and I don't think you need me to tell you, but prisons are amongst some of the most haunted places out there. And it stands to reason, you know. I don't know if there's a term for it, and I don't know why I've ever developed this, but the thought of going to jail absolutely terrifies me. It does. Let me go toe to toe with 100 of those crazy hornets. Remember the Mutant Ninja Turtle hornets? I don't think they're turtle hornets, but you get me, right? Do 100 of them toe to toe, no bother. Don't ask me to sleep in an empty prison, like an old prison overnight. You think of some of the emotion, some of the violence as well that's gone on in these places, let alone the violence that the people may have conducted or gone and carried out to be in there in the first place. Talk about a chamber, a big stone chamber. And, you know, we've often talked about stone possibly recording emotions, recording things that happened at the time if enough emotion and stress was expressed, you know. And what are prisons? They're all made of stone, especially the old ones over here. So I'd imagine it's the same over in Australia. And I've watched some of these TV shows, like Australia's Hardest Prison and that. Dang, dude. I mean, I'm scared of doing the UK jail, and the UK jail is like a holiday camp. You get a duvet, you get a PlayStation. It's not really. I mean, yeah, you're locked away, but punishment compared to America or over in Australia, don't know. So it says Fremantle Prison closed as a functioning penitentiary as recently as 1991. A fact that's pretty hard to fathom as you walk around the building's cobbled yards and eye the iron grids all over the windows. Now, built by convicts between 1852 and 1859, it is now Western Australia's sole UNESCO World Heritage Site. You can explore the prison by eerie torchlight, but while there's no shortage of ghostly tales set in the grounds, the focus of the evening tours here is the history. It says the idea is to give the people a sense of what it would have been like for the prisoners. Interpretation manager Luke Donegan says, now we'll tell them the stories of real people that are so tragic, sad, and horrifying that visitors often walk away overwhelmed. Now, there's no promise of ghost sightings or paranormal oddities as you wander the main cell block and solitary confinement, but visits to the whipping post, the gallows, and the morgue, combined with stories of those who died there, will chill even the hardest of souls. Our tours can scare the bejesus out of people without having to tell them ghost stories. That actually does sound as if it's got the potential for being pretty creepy. As opposed to being told about ghost stories, just be told, oh, Scotty Lopez is in the building. Let me just add him. Yeah, so as opposed to being told about like the characters and old Jim, he's meant to wander along Cell Block H. Cell Block H, what a cracking TV show, by the way. Thank you, Australia, for that one. But yeah, so you're just getting told like some of the stuff, some of the people that were there. And as you're walking along, I would imagine some noises, off in the periphery, off in the background. And then your brain will start thinking of those people you've just been told about, and oh, bada bing, bada boom. Creepiness in the room. And I'm not talking about you, Scott. How you doing, brother?
Hey, wow. It sounds like some very interesting conversation going on here.
I'm just talking to myself as usual, Scott, No, but
okay.
I was just when I was setting up today, noticed we had Luna in the YouTube end of the chat room, and we had Ken over on the TFR end of the chat room, both from Australia. So I thought we'll dig up like 5 of the most haunted locations in Australia. Now, the first one, I don't even care to mention it. It doesn't deserve to be Australian, to be honest with you. I'm going to get your camera done in a wee second, Scott. But yeah, we've moved on to this one now, right? And it's called Fremantle Prison. Now, the tour that they take you on, Scott, this is what I was talking about when you came in. They don't actually tell you about the ghost stories per se. They just tell you about some of the historical characters that were inmates at one time. And they leave the rest for the imagination and the atmosphere and the ambience and all that stuff to take over,
Actually, that's a good way of doing it, because if you already kind of preload that in someone's mind, then, maybe it has I don't know, what would it be kind of considered like a paranormal placebo effect or something like that, where they're already thinking about something being haunted, so maybe like their mind starts running wild, and maybe I don't know. But if you don't tell them anything and they start experiencing stuff, then I think that makes it seem a little more legit.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, Scott. I was thinking this is a really good way to kind of go about it. Don't like you said there. I like that. Preload them. Don't give them the information up front. Just tell them what's gone on there in the past. Don't tell them about the white lady that everyone's seen. Don't tell them that one. Yeah, I like it, man. Yeah, I'm going with.
Yeah, because then everybody's going to be expecting to see a white lady, and they're, like I said, their minds are going to be running wild, and but if you don't tell them anything, and then they all experience the same thing, then it's more like, you know.
How does it go, Scott?
Hmm?
How does it go? Mm. Yeah. Oh, I've got. Listen, this one, dude. You missed it. I've got a new Wookiee. Hey, hey.
Hey, it's like my Wookiee and your Wookiee made love, and
At last it happened, Scott. At last it happened. When we all took our eyes off them during the you-know-what that's going on right now, they had a little bit of brown Wookiee. And now we got little Wookiee in the building.
How dare you?
Both of them equally hairy, both of them equally Wookiee. Do we have 2 Wookiees in the house, Scott?
The new Wookiee, our new baby Wookiee has inherited the first grunt from my Wookiee, and then the last grunt from your Wookiee.
Yes. It's like we've spliced them together, man.
Genetically modified.
Yeah. So, yeah, this place, like I say, it doesn't really give you any of the ghost stories, but prisons over in the US, I mean, I'll watch a few of the paranormal shows over there, dude. Prisons, asylums, like schools for young offenders, that type of thing. These are the places that you don't even have to question if it's haunted. You just know.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of trauma and a lot of emotional sort of energy trapped in those places, right? I mean, not only are you dealing with like prisoners who've been murdered, you're dealing with prisoners who've taken their own lives, you're also dealing with like the horrible treatment of prisoners as well, you know, like the abuse inflicted upon them, you know, with the, you know, from the guards. I mean, it's just, yeah, I mean, that to me just seems like it would be a concentrated area of emotional and spiritual energy that would be trapped in a place like that. And you know what I also wonder? I mean, we talk about a lot of the prisons and stuff here in the US. I wonder what's going on in some of the prisons in like Russia. Can you imagine?
Whoa, the gulag.
Yeah, like
well, you've seen what it's like in Warzone, dude. It's crazy in there, right?
Yes, I'm quite familiar with the gulag and Warzone, but yeah, I mean, but for real, like some of these places, like these like gulags and stuff that were located in Siberia or still located in Siberia or just, or, you know, and you know that there was a lot of torture and maltreatment and just.
I'm putting it on my list, man. I'm putting it on my list because we're doing what I'm calling like a whistle-stop tour of Rabbit Hole X. Forget Area 51, Scott. Rabbit Hole X is ours, right? It's where the abnormal show goes. We go down it, man. Right? So Russia is on the list here. It's to do.
Yeah. I think that's that is definitely a rabbit hole we need to go down, because I haven't really seen people cover much about hauntings in Russia. That'd be very interesting.
Yeah, we're gonna deep dive it tonight. Deep dive ski it. Deep ski dive ski.
I figured you would know about this, Kev.
I know. I actually have to check with one of my handlers at the break, so I'm going to go away and make a coffee, or at least it'll look like that.
Are you allowed, Comrade Kev, to speak about these things?
Anyway, moving on back to Australia. That's his good, yeah. So then, number 3, Port Arthur. So then, Reverend George. Oh, it's like a religious ghosty. Now, any ghosty with like priesty type frock and things on, Scotty, that's got the potential to be pretty scary, man. Yep. So it's been seen more than a dozen times over 150 years around the grounds of Port Arthur, the prehistoric penal outpost in Tasmania. He's regular seen in the parsonage, where he died in the 1870s, tour coordinator Jake Bradshaw tells me. And we have photos of him. Then there are the convicts. One that's regularly seen is John Gould, a particularly nasty character who's been spotted leering at people over the years, Bradshaw says. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. You don't get many of those in Australia. Just saying, icebergs, that is. Here there are more than 2,000 reports of unexplained activity, all bundled into 20 bulging files full of sightings of ghosts and strange emotional reactions to buildings. 20 files full of it, Scotty boy. That's like, that's a lot of activity, right? I mean, you only need one or two incidents for something to become pretty infamous. 20 files?
Yeah, I mean, when they can just pull out like a folder and just like slap it on the table and be like, yeah.
Scott goes to YouTube. I think there's just been an earthquake somewhere. No, they were just cracking open the Australian haunting files, Scotty.
Yeah. That exactly. I mean, wow. I mean, that sounds like a crazy place, you know. And once again, convicts, you know.
Talking of time, we'll be doing some time on the break, me and Scotty boy, and we'll be back in 3 short minutes. We'll continue our rabbit hole X. Yes, it's not the rabbit hole that comes to any kind of conclusion. No, it's the rabbit hole that just keeps going and going and going. We join you, or we invite you to join us after the break, and maybe I'll get my power of speech back on the next part of the rabbit hole. Or Freaky Friday. I don't know where we are anymore, Scotty Lopez. It's that kind of show. There we go. Yes, I don't know what it is, dude. Got out of bed this morning, you know, just kind of... Some days are and some days are woo. And today's pretty woo, dude. Pretty woo.
Nice.
How you been keeping, man? Because I know you had weather in your area the other day, right?
Yeah, man, last night was kind of crazy. We had some tornadoes that went just south of us, so that's why I was like, But we're all good. Once again, Topeka has dodged the bullet. I think there's some kind of a protective bubble. Storms seem to split and go around us. It's weird.
Is it like that? Is that what it's like? Is there some kind of dome over your area, Scott?
We joke about that. We say that there's like a dome over Topeka. For some reason, everything either skirts just north of us or just south of us, and we just kind of split the gap in between.
Do you ever see that TV show, The Dome? Might be worth watching, dude. Yeah, they had a dome over them, man. Pretty good show. Yep. Government shenanigans, of course. Government shenanigans, isn't there always? So,
yes.
Aside from the storm, how's Storm Vector, our veteran Call of Duty warfighter, doing? How are you getting on, man? I mean, have you not, saved the world yet?
I am almost level 140.
Holy shimoly, Scotty boy.
Yes.
Damn, dude.
Yeah. I've just been I've been playing a little bit.
Hey, why not, man? You having fun? That's the main thing,
dude. Having a blast. I haven't had this much fun on a game in a long time.
Well,
so
if you want to laugh, Scott, on Sunday, I'm going to be doing a stream with a difference. Talk about clickbait. Pardon the pun, but I, Mr. Lopez, am inviting our audience to go crazy fishing with me. Yes, I've got a very nice fishing simulator where you can go online, fish against others, and whoa, easy, Wilson, whoa, you know?
Competitive online fishing?
Oh, dude, it's a pretty competitive world, I'm telling you, man.
Is that going to be the new esport, or are they going to be?
Could be, dude. Could be. Tell you, man. I was 2 casts in, and I caught this absolute belter. I'm like, oh, this is stream material. You know why? Because the fool I made of myself trying to wind the thing into the boat, Scott. The controller's fighting, you know. It makes for some pretty compelling comedy. At my expense.
I was about to say,
yeah.
That sounds like it would provide some pretty entertaining content.
Yeah, it's something different, you know. Always trying to, you know, come up with something new, Scotty. Here we go now. I'm just looking for the clock here, boys. We're about to go. Did I say boys plural as if there was like 2 of you there, or implying that there's more of me?
And if you could share your screen, that'd be very much appreciated.
Oh, you want to roll like that, do you? There you go. There you go. There you go. Here we go. It's because I'm shy, Scott. That's what it is. Here we go. Oh, the Wookiee almost got sacked on his first day at the office there. Welcome back, everyone. Part 2 of today's Freaky Friday. Rabbit Hole X. First stop, Australia. And we've got another couple of these Australian ones to go. I've got lots of woo along the way. We've got the phones to open up. I've got Scotty Lopez. He's got something on the tip of his tongue. Tell us, Scotty.
Well, I just looked at Epic Journeyman's post in the TFR chat, and that is very interesting because we were talking about Warzone during the break, and can you imagine that in VR, dude?
No, too lifelike. Yeah, big time, man.
Man, talk about some immersion. Yeah. I hope you succeed in your experiment, Epic, because it doesn't officially support VR, but if you can get it going, that would be pretty crazy.
Yeah,
so.
Epic's the kind of guy that works with all that kind of stuff, so I would imagine he's got the techie kind of head to be just the guy to do it. That sounds good, though. But yeah, we're going down under, back into the woo. We were at Fremantle Penitentiary. And then we're on to now Port Harbour, where we had this 2,000 reports of unexplained activity, all bundled in to 20 bulging files. That's crazy biscuits, man. That's like 100 reports per file.
Yeah, that's definitely
that's
something.
A lot of ghosts.
You're just. I don't think that many people are just making stuff up.
No, can't be. So then it goes on to say that it's by far the most haunted spot in Australia, our guide claims, which is why the nightly ghost tours here are so popular. Nothing is fabricated. There are no tricks. It's all about real people's stories. But the sounds of it, I don't think you need to play any tricks in a place like that. In fact, you might want to play some of the real activity down. So while some attribute the high levels of paranormal activity to the suffering that occurred here during its years as a prison, others consider it a place itself as special, or the place itself is special with an energy of its own, Bradshaw explains. People arrive here expecting to find a horrific prison, but instead they find a stunning corner of Tasmania. And that's interesting, Scott, because the earth energies, you know, I'm going to have on a couple of native Australians next weekend. Mammoth Hunter, she's going to be coming on and co-hosting with me. I am so made up that I'm going to get the opportunity to talk to them. And I wonder if it's something to do with that. I wonder if that was built on an energetic area.
Yeah, I mean, because now what if we're talking about like a sort of compounding effect, right? Like a force multiplier, I guess you could say. You already have a place that's built on a naturally energetic spot. You know, maybe one of these kind of natural vortexes, and then on top of that you have like all of the trauma and all of the stuff that occurred there as a prison, and so you have like these two things stacking on top of each other. And yeah, I guess if you have that happening, you would have a file with like 2,000.
You know, there's something else as well. When we think about the bigger picture of the prison, Scott, obviously some of the more violent criminals. You could say some of them close to being like psychopaths, and something a little screw loose. Well, that screw loose is like a portal possibly that's open, and who knows what could be influencing people before they even get there, right? So you've got people that might take attachments in, Scott, and then think about being in that place, right? And we talk about these entities, the spirits, how they literally, they're at least attracted to high tension, high stress, high fear situations, right? Some say that that's what energizes them, and I can pretty much go along with that. So you're also looking at a situation where you've got young guys and young women that they've got nowhere to go. I mean, talk about making the perfect, like, easy pickings for any of these entities out there, right? That place must be like a bee, like a honey trap.
Well, yeah, I mean, we talk about like these entities feeding off people's fear and stuff like that, and like that low vibration sort of mindset. And what better place to find that than in a prison? People are constantly fearing for their lives. They're scared. They don't know if the next day they're going to be killed by another inmate or not, or how they're going to be treated by the guards. They're stressed about their situation in general. They want to go home. Then, like you said, you have the people in there that are like psychopaths and serial killers and all of that. And what kind of energy did they bring into the situation just by going there? And what kind of intent do they have? And what kind of stuff were they into? I mean, then we're talking about like people who may have been into the occult and like Satanists and all of that stuff that were already just like really, really bad dudes outside of prison, and then they come in and they bring that intent into the prison as well. So I mean, we're talking about just you want to talk about throwing everything into the pot, everything that could possibly like bring like these entities that want to feed off that energy to that location. It's all right there,
Feeding time at the zoo, man. And this is what I've got. I really do have this. It's carcerophobia. So carcerophobia. And it says here, carcerophobia is the fear of prison. Anybody can suffer this fear, even though they haven't done anything illegal in their lives. Now, sufferers would usually have obsessive thoughts about what it's like, what life is like in prison. Many carcerophobes would feel worried about spending the rest of the life in the prison the most. And sufferers would do everything to stay out of trouble. They may be afraid for parents or other family members to call the police. I don't think I'm that bad. And if the sufferer did a little misbehaving thing or even did something bad accidentally, they may panic in terror. Right, I don't quite have that, okay? But I tell you what, Scotty, that's one of the things that puts the willies up, Kev. Yep.
I think everybody should have a
healthy respect.
Yes, of being thrown in the slammer. I mean, there's a reason why you don't want to go.
I was saying before you turned up, Scott. I mean, have you ever watched anything about our prisons over here? Have you? It's embarrassing compared to what the prison in America is a prison. Over here it's duvets and TVs and you honestly did.
Yeah, I saw some stuff about like prisons over there in Europe, and I'm like,
That explains why not much of a deterrent there then.
Yeah, I was like that's supposed to be punishment. Oh, okay, but well.
Look at this, Scotty. Sorry, but Jason, our paranormal investigator, is saying in the UK we use granite blocks in old prisons. And the medium told me the crystal in the blocks keep in energy. Boom.
See, there you go. Well, yeah, now if you think about it, I mean, those old prisons were just built out of big old granite blocks, and then you're basically surrounding the prisoners with, what I would consider a storage device, because I believe energy can be stored in the the quartz, and the crystals that's inside the stone. So you're essentially imprinting everything that has occurred in that prison. It's being imprinted into those rocks, into those blocks, So yeah. There we go. I mean, once again, it's just like a compounding sort of thing. You already have the trauma and the energy there, and then you just amplify it.
Ooh. Anyway, let's go back here. It says, ghostly spirits aside, this is a World Heritage Site. A well-preserved excerpt of Australia's convict past, with a number of day tours to delight history buffs. And it's a place where you can really get a feel for how modern Australia began, Bradshaw says. As if it began when we turned up there with convicts, do you know what I'm saying? How arrogant. And that's from somebody in Australia, dude. You know? It doesn't matter about the folk that were there before us pale faces turned up, Don't worry about that. The country didn't exist. It wasn't there. It just turned up when we found it. Crazy, dude. So then, number 4, Williamstown. Once a bubbling hub of boozy sailors and raucous ladies. Which do you think Popeye and Joe are? Do you think Popeye and Joe are the boozy sailors, or do you think they're the raucous ladies? I'm just saying, Melbourne's first port still oozes maritime spirit. Now a more ghostly variety. So Williamstown was established in 1837, and it remains one of Victorian's capital's most appealing waterfront areas, with the city's residents and tourists flocking to it to soak up the historic charm. Its former inhabitants are seemingly rather fond of it too, and apparitions are said to still stalk its dark brickwork laneways, gathering around the disused morgues and graveyards. Oh my word. I mean, come on. Yeah, they just kind of congregate at the graveyard. Good day, Cobber. Good day, Sport. Good day, Sheila. Good day, Ghosty.
Good having another ghost meeting.
Just shoving another ghost on the Barbie, Scott.
The Barbie, yeah.
Oh, how culturally inappropriate can you get? I apologise to everyone, but it's about the one accent I can almost do.
I can almost pull it off.
Oh, come on though, Scott. Come on though. Oh, well, we have a pretty good French accent as well.
Les ghosts are very, very, very scary.
You see, that's why you could never have like a really banging paranormal show with 2 like French investigators. It just wouldn't. You'd be too busy laughing. Oh, is there anybody? Is there anybody there? Ooh. Where's this going? It's one of these nights.
Yeah. Yes, it is. It's one of those nights.
It's good. So, Adelaide Goal. Now then, just a few weeks back, we're told, a sceptical young lady came face to face with the governor, William Baker Ashton. Ah, indeed. Yeah. Oh, now I'm almost feel a bit proud, Scott.
Do you have ties to the?
No, I must admit, I've got German in my bloodline. Bit of Irish, a lot of Irish actually, but none Australian that I know of. But I'll take it, right? Because, well, in the end of the day, I can't really take it. You get bakers everywhere. It's a trade name, isn't it?
Well, if you just trace the lineage back long enough.
If I got Dr. Craig Venter.
Australians and
Scottish people. We like Scottish, alcohol. Yeah.
UK. They all come from this. They're all cut from the same cloth. If you go back far enough.
I think so, dude. I think so. And if you go back far enough, according to my good friend Bruce Fenton and Mammoth Hunter, if you go back far enough, we all came from Australians. Go figure. So then, yeah, very good theory that. You need to check out that show, Scott. That was really interesting stuff. And very scientific as well. you know, things turning up in DNA that are just written off, you know. Why is it written off? Because it goes against what the academics say. That's why. Shh, don't talk about that.
Shh,
Shh.
It-
Don't worry about the
just-
fact it doesn't make any logical sense what we're telling you. Ignore that.
it's just junk DNA, Kev. It's
Yeah,
just junk DNA.
Yeah, they ran out of Africa towards a big, huge volcano that was an extinction level event, Scott. They ran towards it. But that's what they would have you believe. Yeah. But anyway, we digress. Big shout out to William Baker Ashton. So he's a rather large man, probably not related. He died in his quarters and, stiff with rigor mortis, that's what he told them, had to be hoisted down through the window by rope and pulley. The embarrassing exit is probably why he's sticking around. President of the Preservation Society, Penny Wilkinson, tells me. You know, in direct comparison to this Baker being winched out of the building, Scott, you could probably put me in a matchbox and shove me in your pocket and take me out of the building. Nah, I think it might. Don't think he's a relative, man.
They could just tie a tablecloth to you, you know, and like kind of form it like a makeshift parachute and just kind of throw you out the window.
I thought you were just talking about just throw a sheet over me and make me the resident ghost. Ooh. It's Kev, the quarantine ghost. So, that's the end of it. That's the end of it. So that's the end of it. I bet you're right. When we open up the phones later, I hope we get a caller from Australia to give us some proper Australian woo. That's so diluted by our favourite news organisation up in the top corner there. We trust them. We love them so much. Big shout out to everyone working so hard to bring us their version of the truth out there at CNN. But I wasn't too impressed with that, Scott. And I think it's safe to say Australians have got better ghost stories than that, right?
I was about to say, you know, the woo goes much deeper in Australia than just.
It's got bunyips in Australia, man.
Exactly. Man, can you imagine some of like the ghost and spirit stories that the Aborigines have to tell people? You know,
This is what I'm hoping we're gonna be getting next week, my good friend. This is what I'm hoping we're gonna be getting. Well, we're gonna be getting into that.
Since they're already tapped into that kind of energy, you know what I mean? I would think that they are much more open to that kind of activity than just your average person, I would say.
I would agree with you. So then, we mentioned earlier on then, right, that we were going to kind of go on this whistle-stop tour, and Russia came up, right? So, first, like, website I found here, aptly named, I think this should probably tick the box, Vampire and Ghost Stories from Russia. Oh, holy shamoly, what have we stumbled across, Scott? So the first one is called The Coffin Lid. Oh, dang, dude. This is going to get creepy fast, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Scott's giving it, mm-hmm. So it says here, the mujik was driving along one night with a load of pots. His horse grew tired, and all of a sudden it came to a standstill alongside the graveyard. The mujik unharnessed the horse and set it free to graze. Meanwhile, he laid himself down on one of the graves. But somehow, he didn't go to sleep. He remained lying there some time. Suddenly, the grave began to open beneath him. He felt the movement and sprang to his feet. The grave opened, and out of it came a corpse, wrapped in a white shroud and holding a coffin lid. Came out and ran to the church, laid the coffin lid at the door, and then set off for the village. Now, the mujik was a daring fellow, and he picked up the coffin lid and remained standing beside his cart, waiting to see what would happen. After a short delay, the dead man came back and was going to snatch up his coffin lid, but it was not to be seen. Then the corpse began to track it, traced it up to the mujik and said, "Give me my lid. If you don't, I'll tear you to bits. And my hatchet, how about that?" answers the Mujik. Why, it's I who'll be chopping you into small pieces. Do give it back to me, good man, begs the corpse. A very gentlemanly kind of exchange that we're having here, Scott. For somebody that started off saying I was going to tear you to bits, you know. But it says, I'll give it to you when you tell me where you have been and what you've done. Well, I've been in the village, and there I got rid of a couple of youngsters. Well then, now tell me how they can be brought back to life. And the corpse reluctantly made answer. Cut off the left skirt of my shroud and take it with you. When you come into the house where the youngsters were, pour some live coals into a pot and cut the pieces of the shroud in with them. And then lock the door. The lads will be revived by the smoke immediately. So the Mujik cut off the left skirt of the shroud and gave up the coffin lid. And the corpse went to its grave, and the grave reopened. But just as the man was descending into it, all of a sudden the cocks began to crow, and he hadn't time to get properly covered over. One end of the coffin lid remained sticking out of the ground, and I got a horrible picture of Popeye there because of the chicken reference, Scott. I thought, Popeye's got chickens, it's Florida, it's not Russia. So it says the Mujik, could have been Popeye, saw all of this and made note of it. The day began to dawn. He harnessed his horse and he drove into the village. In one of the houses he heard cries and wailing. And he went, and there lay the two lads. Don't cry, says he. I can bring them to life. Do bring them to life, Kingsman, said their relatives. We'll give you half of all we possess. The Mujik did everything as the corpse had instructed him, as you do, and the lads came back to life. Their relatives were delighted, but they immediately seized the Mujik and bound him, saying, No, no, trickster, we'll hand you over to the authorities. Since you knew how to bring them back to life, maybe it was you who got rid of them. What are you talking about, true believers? Have the fear of God before your eyes, cried the Mujik. Then he told them everything that had happened during the night. Well, they spread the news through the village, and the whole population assembled and swarmed into the graveyard. They found out that the grave from which the man had come out, and they tore it open. They drove in a stake right into the heart of it, so that it might no more rise up and slay. But they rewarded the Mujik richly, and sent him away home with great honour. That sounds to me, Scott, right? And the people that are going to say, Kev, shut up. But what if there is a tradition for, like, night walkers, vampire-y type things, right? You know, they come from somewhere, dude.
Vampires, like, there's a lot of vampire stories that come out of Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't just an isolated thing, you know. I've heard many stories of
Count Dracula.
Yeah, well, yeah, got Count Dracula, and but there's like a lot of stories of people that dig up these graves and like drive stakes into them because there really is a fear of vampires out there. It's not just some. Now, I mean, I don't know if some of these stories on this page are like wives' tales or whatever. But
Still
either
interesting,
way,
no, yeah. If they're...
yeah. Either way, it's born out of something.
I mean,
It's
if it is
born
wives' tales, you could say they're like tradition, mythology.
Yeah, I'm not saying that to discount it.
I know that, brother. I know that.
Yeah. I'm saying it because where did these tales come from? You know, why do these tales exist? And obviously they're born out of something that actually occurred or that somebody has actually experienced, and that there's an actual fear of these creatures or these entities or whatever they are, you know, these vampires. And so, no, it's very interesting. And yeah, like I said, I don't know what it is about like Eastern Europe and Russia, but it's a big deal there. Like they really they legit believe in that stuff even to this day. You know, it's not like something that they believed a long time ago and they're like, oh yeah, no, there's still villages and towns over there where they're like, yeah, vampires are real, you know, and we have to like watch out for them and stuff. It's like, whoa.
Pretty
You
cool,
know?
Pretty cool. Now, we're going to be going to the breaks. I don't want to start another one just yet, Scott. But, yeah, quite interesting. I'm trying to think if I've ever really gone into Russian ghost stories before. Now, I've gone into, like, Russian UFOs with Ben, I think, a couple of times. Maybe we've done it. But never really down the kind of paranormal road.
Ah, that's why I said it would be interesting. It's interesting to go down this little rabbit hole because I don't see many people talking about paranormal activity in Russia. You know, like you said, apart from the UFOs, you don't really hear about anything else as far as like ghosts or anything like that. So
Is that going to be our shtick, Scotty? Are we going to be the guys that talk Russian? Woo! Oh, how cool would that be, man? You know that, like,
hey,
that red top
you know,
news site we were at a moment ago? If we keep up our Russian woo, we'll be part of the whole Russia gate, man. You know it. You know it. Oh, yeah.
yes, yes. And no, I mean Russia's also a hotbed of Bigfoot activity as well. So
What's it called in Russia then, man?
I don't know what they call it in Russia.
But we
I mean, I
will
want to say
find out.
Yet, but
We will find out
think
during the break. Maybe it's Yetsky.
Yetsky,
Yetsky.
Wayne Yetsky, Wayne Yetsky.
Vladimir Bigfootsky. And we'll be back after the break with more from Russia with Love. Or should I say, from Moscow with Woo. We'll be right back. It didn't quite work, Moscow and Woo, but we'll go with it anyway. I need to pee, so my camera's going off for just a little second. I'm still here, Scotty.
Yeah.
I'm still here, man. I'm still here.
Hey, and you know, we had somebody in the TFR chat mention Rasputin and that whole story of Rasputin. You know, he's a mystic involved in a lot of.
There you go,
there's just
Scotty. It's called the almas.
Ah, the almas.
Yeah. Oh, hang on. This is Turkish. It's in the Caucasus Mountains, the Pamir Mountains, Mongolia. Yeah, it's all pretty much round Russia, Central Asia.
Okay.
Holy heck, I've never heard of this, but it's everywhere.
Wow.
The almas. Alma.
I like how it says similar on the side.
Look
The
at
skunk here and the yowie.
I thought that said Barack Obama. Hey, the long-legged Mac Daddy. Bring back those days, man. They were good times. You know.
Yeah,
Damn, dude.
It's nice to reminisce of,
Isn't it?
of the state of things.
Indeed,
back
man.
then.
Indeed, eh?
It was a much simpler time.
I was going to say simpler times, Scotty. Yeah, at the time we didn't think so. Well, tell you did.
when you didn't have to come up with so many ridiculous things to get your YouTube.
Yes, back in the day, man, in the Wild West, you know.
Well, you know, when all you had to do was, you know, tell the truth and
try that. Those days are gone, man. Dang, dude.
Oh, man.
Dang. Yep. Down the woo hole we go, Sky. I'm telling you, it's full woo ahead.
But look, here we are. Russian Bigfoot.
Yay. Aye, we've come a long way since the ambassador. Oh, too much fun tonight.
Man.
Too much fun, I'm telling you. I haven't even got to half of the woo that I've got pulled up for us, so we'll get the phones on as well as we progress,
That's
folks.
good.
But
when you're not getting to content, that means we have plenty. You know,
very good point.
It's when you're like, oh, I've run out of stories. What do we do now? That's when.
There's never an end of stories when you're in the woo, Scott. That's the one good thing.
That is very true.
132 people on the backup channel. Thank you so much. Remember to hit that
Awesome.
subscribe button, hit the like button. And yeah, very, very awesome indeed. Warzone later on tonight, is it, Scott, when you get done with this? Or are you going back into battle?
Yes. I'm currently on leave, as they say. Was it sabbatical?
Oh, nice. All right, you're not AWOL or anything. That's okay. Then it's like, that's good.
No. I'm on leave, and then
Cool.
Once this is over,
Back to it, man. Yeah. A warrior's fight is never done. Never done.
I'm just hoping I come across Stone Mountain 64. I hope I end up in a lobby with him.
That'd be awesome, dude.
I mean, I would be honored to be killed by the commanding officer.
Here we go. If all else fails, just go fishing. Yes, indeed, and you probably heard me talking about fishing there before the Wookiee came in. I'm having to take the Wookiee fishing. He made me, during the break, agree to the fact that I'm going to take him fishing at some point. Electronically, of course. So on Sunday, if you find yourselves bored, check out my YouTube channel and you may just find me making a complete and utter salmon of myself. Boom, boom.
I may have to jump in and turn it into like a fishing battle. I'm just come in and be like, I am the commander of fishing.
No, who's this? Reeling in, I'll kick in army mode. Don't do it, Scott. Don't do it.
I'm the only person who could probably manage to turn fishing into a blood sport of some kind.
It's kind of like Grand Theft Auto, only you've got a fishing rod and you can just walk onto a boat or around the lake. It's pretty simplistic, man, but you know, I'm a simple guy. Casper, whoosh, get out there, man. Away we go. See, it's gonna be good, dude. I can tell people ghost stories while I'm fishing. No, I mean, reeling in slowly, jamming. Yes. Anyway, back to what we were talking about before the break. Russia, the Russian Bigfoot. For those of you who don't know, it actually does have its own designator, and it is called the almas, or the alma. And you find this in Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Mongolia, Russia, and Tajikistan. And if I left out any countries there, don't be offended. I'm sure the alma can write into the show. They can complain to Geo, and but yeah, and you get these things everywhere. That's the thing, though, Scott. Right? I mean, when it comes to the wild man, the big hairy type entity, they're everywhere. It's like you can't say it's just one or two continents. I mean, Australia, yowie, right?
Yeah, I mean, and here we go. I mean, if you have sightings of this thing that are like global, you know, people seeing this thing, you know, seeing, well, this entity or whatever you want to call it, this cryptid, you know, if it's a global phenomenon and people are seeing it all around the world. So I think that also lends a lot of credence to something being to it, because how are you going to orchestrate everyone around the world to lie about the same thing? No, you're not. Everybody's witnessing something.
Yeah.
And I mean, well, what is it? You know, like I said, when I first started digging into the whole Bigfoot phenomenon, I was looking at it from the perspective of, oh, well, it's just an undiscovered species, you know, which I think a lot of people kind of, that's their first sort of natural kind of logical inclination to go with. Because, I mean, hey, we discover new species all the time, and we also discover species that we thought were once extinct all the time, you know, and so that's kind of the first place you go to. But then the more you look into it, and the more you look into the the experiences that people have had, and then you look into, well, how come no bodies have ever been found? How come we haven't found bones of these things, but yet people are still seeing them? Then you're like, well, what's going on here? And then you start hearing about more of the, I guess you could call it, what would you call it, supernatural sort of aspects of it, where you have what appears to be like telepathic contact, and um strange things where people have shot at them and they could have swore that they hit them, but they like blip out of existence or they disappear. And then you got to start wondering, okay, are we really dealing with something that is of this realm, of like an earthly realm, or are we dealing with something that is not of this realm? And we had to start talking about, interdimensional entities and stuff along that lines, and then it becomes more supernatural, more paranormal. It's like the woo gets like really ratcheted up at that point. And of course now I'm of the belief, well, we're talking about some kind of an interdimensional creature of some sort, I believe.
Yeah, I was going over a story last night from our favourite Scott, Mysterious Universe, and it was various examples of portals, doorways, dimensions opening up in forested areas. And the one thing that was common with all of them, there was a number of things. The noise would stop, the birds would disappear, like you wouldn't hear any birds, you wouldn't hear just general noises, you hear wind blowing through the trees, all that stops. Found that in multiple occasions there was a mist that appeared as well. People reported a mist independently of one another. Yeah, really, and I mean, we've laughed and we joke about it all the time when I talk about the trees and the forest, how it's almost another world in there. You're cut off from the sunlight and everything from the canopy down. It's like its own ecosystem. It's like its own dimension, really. Everything's connected in there. And it is like you walk into a magical world. And literally it is quite magical because for whatever reason. And what really I keep coming back to, Scott? You've watched the new Star Trek, right? The mycelial transport system, right?
Yeah.
And
that was it was
yeah.
Stamets,
Dr. Stamets.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? And
he was the inspiration for it.
Yeah, and he was talking about the general gist of the idea, folks. See how, like, in Star Trek or any sci-fi movie, you get them kind of jumping, warp speed, that kind of thing. Well, this is like a network of spores that are everywhere throughout the universe, and they're all entangled with one another. And they find a way of manipulating this with their own batch of spores. And you can basically, thanks to entanglement, go from one end of the universe to the other. No time passes, right? Theoretically. And then I was listening to a new audio book I've gotten. It was talking about this exoplanet, but it was describing how some really kind of bizarre exoplanets, or ones we wouldn't typically look at because they're not conducive to life as we know it, you still sometimes get fungi on there. Fungi will be the most like intelligent thing. It takes hold on a planet despite the harsh kind of things. And that got me really thinking about the Star Trek thing again, And I wonder if, the spores that are on our planet and everywhere else, if there is that kind of quantum connection, like in the forest, everything's connected.
No, I mean, that's a very good thought, and I've actually thought about the same thing. I mean, what if there is like a common organism that is spread out across the entire universe? We talk about like common organisms that we see here on our planet. Like there's just certain common bacteria and common mycelium that you're going to find everywhere. No matter where you are on the planet, it's going to be there because it's a common thing. Well, you know, now we got to talk about, looking from the micro to the macro. What if there's a common organism that is able to permeate throughout the entire universe, or, that
Because
has
you
been
think about
around?
it, Scott, everything's created at the Big Bang, right? If we're going with that. So theoretically, everything from that finite or infinite point, you could make an argument that everything that was created then, like the rocks, the dust, everything that goes on to become planets, all of that interconnected, entangled at its point of
Yeah, it
creation,
is.
you know?
It is. It is. I mean, it is. I mean, and that's what the sort of the that's what the core of like quantum mechanics is, right? That they're trying to see, what is it called, the quantum field. It seems to be the common binding thing throughout the entire universe, right? And I mean, we're talking about that in terms of quantum, like quantum mechanics and stuff like that. But why couldn't there be some kind of a common organism
Yeah, whatever's
that
in
has?
the forest that's entangled with what might be in that dimension that things come from.
Yeah, because it probably exists everywhere on every planet at some level. You know, um, I don't know. It's a very interesting, very interesting
Who knew
thing about.
Russian vampires would lead us into a conversation about quantumly connected forests? I was about to say forests in the wood, but wood,
But
Kev.
remember, we read that one strange account from Reddit when oh, it was on a Freaky Friday a long time ago, and remember the guy? It appeared from what it appeared from his story that he accidentally walked through a portal
Yeah.
in the forest, right? And whatever he entered into, whatever this portal was, he was in basically another forest, but it wasn't the forest he was in. He said it was like a jungle, humid environment.
You see, these ones yesterday, again, similar stories. One of the guys bent down to tie his shoelace, and when he turned, or stood back up, he hadn't turned any direction, but he was in perpendicular to the path that he had been on, and all the scenery had changed. And then he just kind of panicked and started walking for the tree line, and when he got to the tree line, the mist again, quietness, and boom, he was back. But he'd lost about 4 hours.
Mm.
Indeed.
And that also seems to be a common thing too, like mist.
Yeah.
And
yeah. It's almost like maybe it's some kind of static electricity or something where like you literally see the time and space ripping, you know?
It's like a quantum cloud, it's like a
nice.
cloud. Yes. And
Sponsored by D-Wave.
Oh my God. Yes. Upload yourself to the quantum cloud.
Why not?
Yeah. But like, there's that case of that pilot that was flying in the Bermuda Triangle, and remember I think his plane jumped like 300 miles or something like that.
Fog.
Yeah, mist, fog surrounded him, and see, I mean, there's
some
this
kind of static maybe in it. You know?
Yeah, because it said it felt like statically charged, like energetically charged. So I mean, to me, that suggests some kind of like quantum plasma sort of thing going on. I mean,
man.
But like, okay, so you look at a lot of these wives' tales and stories of spooky forests, and it always involves mist.
Always, man, always. Little Red Riding Hood. I used to be petrified of that damn story when I was small enough. Dang,
But
dude.
It always refers to ooga boogas and spooky things.
Yeah.
Coming out of the mist, appearing out of the mist, or maybe coming through the portal.
Even ghost ships, man. What do they come out of? They come out of the mist.
They come out of the mist, So I think that there is some deep maybe genetic memory that we know that the mist is
I'm just trying to figure out how I can get some kind of mist machine under my table. Just disappear out the back of the mist. Whoa, where did he go?
You need to buy a fog machine, Kev, and just have it set inside you. You just hit a button and
Let's get back to our Russian woo, shall we? The Kremlin, they're calling, they're a bit pissed. They gave me permission and now I'm not really taking them up on it. So here we go. Well, the next one sounds like it's going to be full of cheers and definitely for Freaky Friday. The two corpses. Yes, indeed. So a soldier had obtained leave. Holy shimoly. Scott's on leave as well. He was telling us a moment ago, you know. He was playing Warzone. To go on furlough. And to pray to the holy images and to bow down before his parents. Now, and as he was going his way, at a time when the sun, you know, sorry to stop, but this sounds like it's translated, which makes it even kind of cooler, because this does come from some kind of, something Russian going on then, I think. And like, this might be common stories, Scott. They might be like really common things, you know?
So it'll be interesting just in general to get a perspective, like if these are some like wives' tales or these kind of common stories that are told in Russia. It would be interesting to hear some of these because, like I said, nobody's covered these. I mean, we've heard ghost stories and tales, you know, from Europe and the U.S. all the time, and you know, yeah, I mean, it's cool and all, but it's always nice to get a perspective on like places that we just don't know a lot about, you know, see what they talk about in their...
About 500 Freaky Fridays in, and we're still digging up new stuff. I tell you, man. That in itself, it speaks volumes for this show and the audience and everyone else. Not only that, but I've got a pile of stuff from Justa and a few other people over in Discord that we need to get to as well. We've got other stories here. We've got the phones to go to. And coming up at the end of our little show here, the end of the #1 abnormal show, we hand it over, and I'm really so happy to have Brent Thomas following up after this show with the Paranormal Portal. Can't think of a better show and a nicer guy to kind of hand things off to. I mean, we've worked with him, Scotty. We're going to do an hour, 5-hour thing. I need to tell him, by the way, that I've absolutely planned in my own mind a 5-hour extravaganza on the next Friday the 13th. I better tell the Paranormal Portal about that though, right?
I like how you've just conscripted him into it.
I've just decided, man. I thought, you know, I enjoyed that so much last time. I'm going to decide for everyone. Yeah.
Did you just initiate the Woo draft?
Yeah, man. I've just gone full Nero. I'm just going right for it. I'm going early, man. No messing. No pussyfooting about under my reign. So then, it says here, to pray to the holy images and to bow down before his parents. And I'm going to predict something. We've not read this, but I wouldn't be surprised if mist or fog comes up in one of these stories, right? So it says, stop. Well, I'm not even at that part yet. So, and as he was going his way, at a time when the sun had long set, and all the dark around, it chanced that he had to pass by a graveyard. Just then he heard that someone was running after him and crying, "Stop! You can't escape." He looked back and there was a corpse running and gnashing its teeth. The soldier sprang to one side with all his might to get away from it, caught sight of a little chapel and bolted straight into it. Now, there wasn't a soul in the chapel, but stretched out on the table there lay another corpse, with tapers burning in front of it. The soldier himself in a corner, and remained there hardly knowing whether he was alive or dead, but waiting to see what would happen. So presently up ran the first corpse, and the one that had chased the soldier, and dashed into the chapel. Thereupon the one that was lying on the table jumped up and cried to it, "What hast thou come here for? I chased a soldier in here, so I'm going to eat him. Come now, brother, he's run into my house. I shall eat him myself." No, I shall. No, I shall. And they set to work fighting. The dust flew like anything. They'd gone on fighting ever so much longer, only the cocks began to crow. And then both the corpses fell lifeless to the ground, and the soldier went on his way homeward in peace, saying, Glory be to thee, O Lord. I am saved from the wizards. Now, is there something in Russian tradition or culture where the cock in the morning is very significant? Because it's like really, that came up like almost verbatim in 2 out of 2 stories now, you know?
Yeah, it's very, very interesting. It almost seems like, when you have
Quite symbolic
roosters,
of something, eh?
yeah, whenever they crow or whatever, it seems to have an effect on the paranormal or something. They seem to react to it. Yeah, very interesting.
So what you're telling me is I really need to sit Bill Bean down, have a conversation with him, and encourage him to take a Russian cock on his next paranormal investigation?
Yeah,
I don't know
maybe
if Bill's going to be up for that, to be perfectly honest with you. Maybe Popeye can talk him into it. I don't know.
Or maybe we need to contact the wizard, Johnny King, and have him make us some of Martha Washington's cock water.
Well, I think so, absolutely. So then, the soldier and the vampire. A certain soldier was allowed to go home for furlough. Well, he walked, and after a time he began to draw near to his native village. Not far from that village lived a miller in his mill. And in old times, the soldier had been very intimate with him. Why shouldn't he go and see his friend? Are we talking brown chicken, brown cow? Whoa, this escalated early. He went, and the miller received him cordially, and at once brought out liquor. And the two began drinking and chattering about the ways and doings. All this took place towards nightfall, and the soldier stopped so long as the millers that it grew quite, or so long at the millers that it grew quite dark. Now, when he proposed to start for his village, his host exclaimed, "Spend the night here, trooper. It's very late now, and perhaps you might run into mischief." "How so?" "God is punishing us. A terrible warlock has died among us, and by night he rises from the grave, wanders through the village, and does such things as bring fear upon the very boldest. How could you even help being afraid of him? Not a bit of it. A soldier is a man who belongs to the crown, and the crown's property cannot be drowned in water nor burnt in fire. I'll be off. I'm tremendously anxious to see my people as soon as possible." So off he set, and his road lay in front of a graveyard again. And on one of the graves he saw a great fire blazing. "What's that?" he thinks. "Let's have a look." When he draws near, he saw that the warlock was sitting by the fire, sewing boots. "Hail, brother," calls out the soldier. And the warlock looked up and he said, well, he said, "What have you come here for?" But he said, "Why? I wanted to see what you're doing." The warlock threw his work aside and invited the soldier to a wedding. "Come along, brother," says he. "Let's enjoy ourselves. There's a wedding going on in the village." "Come along," says the soldier. So they came to where the wedding was. There they were given drink and treated with the utmost hospitality. And the warlock drank and drank, revelled and revelled, and then grew angry. He chased all the guests and relatives out of the house, threw the wedded pair into a slumber, took out 2 fales, and an awl, pierced the hands of the bride and the bridegroom with the awl, and began drawing in their blood. Having done this, he said to the soldier, "Now let's be off." Well, they went off. And on the way, the soldier said, "Tell me, why did you draw off their blood in those vials, where in order that the bride and bridegroom might die? Tomorrow morning, no one will be able to wake them. I alone know how to bring them back to life." How's that managed? Well, the bride and the groom must have cuts made in their heels, and some of their own blood must be poured back into those wounds. I've got the bridegroom's blood stowed away in my right-hand pocket, and the bride's in my left. The soldier listened to this without letting a single word escape him. Then the warlock began boasting again. "I suppose it's quite impossible to get the better of you," says the soldier. The soldier's in cohorts with a demon here, Scott, I'm starting to think. You know, he's out on the drink with them, he's out dancing with them.
Well, I mean, once you're in that deep, you might as I guess he's just kind of going along for the ride now. You know what I mean? He's like, what have I got?
Oh well, I'm here now.
Yeah, I'm here now. Oh crap! I'm running around with a warlock who's, drinking people's blood and.
As you do. I mean, and again, we see that the graveyard is a place of high haunting in Russia. 3 for 3 now. Still no mist yet. But it says, why impossible? If there were to make a pyre of ashen... Oh, listen to that. The mujik from the first story in Russia has caught up with us. We'll be back in 3 minutes for the second half of this week's Freaky Friday. Going well so far, and there is more woo to come, and open lines on the way. Doop doop doo doopy doopy doo beepy doo. 140 souls in here. You see how I said souls there, Scott? I don't know if they're all in the land of the living, my friend. What's up? You're looking at the chat room. You're reading something. Something's caught your attention, man.
I'm working on something. I've got some. I feel a static occurring.
Nice.
Right now.
Nice.
There may be something. I may be teleported to another dimension.
Get ready for that one, folks. Yes, indeed. And I want to thank you all for being here on the YouTube channel. We'll do one more segment, then we'll open up the phones. I know we had a caller last night, Ben, I think his name was. He'll be first if he phones up today. And I know Leslie was talking about phoning in today as well. Billy Joe's out there. I know she's always got a good ghost story or two to share as well. Our skinwalker expert. Haven't caught that show on KBS. Go get it. Mannerus as well. The Oak Island show. Another belter of a show. It's been good shows all week, I must admit. We had the paranormal investigators on. Steve and Jen Hodgson. That was really good fun as well. Been good stuff and a lot more woo to come your way. Still got the Discord room to get to. Don't you worry, Justa. I've not forgotten about it. We'll get there as well. But we'll get through this one ghost story here from Russia. And Scott, I tell you what, the vampire thing, right? I mean, there was a bit... That was getting more into the vampire-esque type stuff there. The taking of blood, giving it back, and...
Yeah, where he pierced their hands, and then he basically drank the blood, after he cut their hands, and yeah, it sounds more like a vampiric sort of experience that we're talking about here. We
have got a super chat coming in from Justa. Yes, indeedy. Manner says, good to see you. Sorry I've not been on as much. Been putting long days in. Get a site done. Nice, Mannerus. Whatever this website is, please come on and talk about it. That'd be awesome. And if nothing else, we can help you promote it. I'm up for a bit of that. Always up for helping out one of the Woo crew out there. Try to think. What else have I got in the grab bag here? I've got so much, Scott. Here we go.
Let's smoke this place out. Holla Scotty and Kev. Me love you long time, so puff puff pass. Brown chicken, brown cow. Woo.
Woo. We love you long time. Long time, just a guy. Yes, indeedy. Now we're getting ready. I'm watching the clock. Not bad, Scott. 3 segments in, and I haven't forgot to bring us back yet. Pretty good.
Oh, mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty good, man. And I've not heard from Joe. I hope Joe's all right. He did tell me he's really busy last time I spoke to him. So if anyone's wondering, no, we haven't sacked Joe. We've just kept got him in a drawer somewhere with Popeye. Can't bring them out. They're not algorithm friendly. I'm only joking. Here we go. I'll bring back the network. 3, 2, 1. Second half of Freaky Friday already. Can you believe it, Scott? Half of the show done already, man.
Hey, man, time flies whenever you're
getting into Russian vampires.
Yeah, whenever you get in some deep woo like this, and especially when it's like new woo. I mean, because we get into woo a lot, but a lot of the woo we've covered before, and it's always good to revisit some of the stuff, But when you get fresh woo, like just it's like that new card smell.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Yeah.
Damn, dude. Wait till you see from now on, bet you, right, by Monday, the mysterious universe has got stories about Russian vampires. I bet you any money, dude. It's how my Matrix works. It's how my corner of reality rolls.
Hey, Ed, you know what? That'd be just fine.
You see, I would never take that as I mean, not that they would listen to this show anyway, right? But I would take something like that as an example of it's time to talk about Russian vampires. Whatever that means, whatever the Matrix is trying to prompt us there, I don't know.
We get a lot of these synchronicities, and sometimes we'll be talking about something and it'll just like randomly pop up on Mysterious Universe. I mean, and it's just something that we were talking about personally amongst ourselves and messages and stuff. And it's like, oh, wow. Mysterious Universe just did a story on that,
It provideth. Yes, it's as if we're we're kind of hooked into the same bit of the Akashic record, man.
Yeah, it just means that it's time for that information to come to light, and somebody's going to bring it out. It's just a matter of who does it first, I guess.
Quite surprising. This isn't from Mysterious Universe. Makes a change for me and Scotty, but we were getting into another of these soldiers, and it was another graveyard. We've got him out on the Randan, out getting a drink with this demonic type corpse thing that's going about taking blood off people. He calls himself a warlock, no less. I make him a wizard. Pretty cool. Johnny King, we need you here, man. So it says here, why impossible? And he's talking about bringing the people or doing something with the bride and groom. And this is the demon or whatever you want to call it, the vampire talking. Why impossible? If anyone were to make a pyre of ashen boughs or buffs, I don't know, 100 loads of them, and were to burn me on that pyre, then he'd be able to get the better of me. Only he'd have to look out sharp in burning me, for snakes and worms and different kinds of reptiles would creep out of my inside, and crows and magpies and jackdaws would come flying up. And all these must be caught and flung on the pyre, and if so much as a single maggot were to escape, then there'd be no help for it. In that maggot, I should slip away. It's almost like holographic, man. One part contains the whole. Just saying. A soldier listened to this and did not forget it. He and the warlock talked and talked, as you do, and at last they arrived at the grave. Well, brother, said the warlock, now I'll tear you to pieces. Otherwise, you'd be telling all of this. What are you talking about? Don't you deceive yourself. I serve God and the Emperor. The warlock gnashed his teeth, howled aloud, and sprang at the soldier, who drew his sword and began laying about him with sweeping blows. They struggled and struggled, and the soldier was all but at the end of his strength. Ah, thinks he, I'm a lost man, and all for nothing. Suddenly, you guessed it, the cocks began to crow, and the warlock fell lifeless to the ground. That's a vampire, dude. That's daylight knocking this beastie out.
I was just about to say, because when do roosters begin to crow? Well, in the morning. And so it's like as light was breaking and the cocks began to crow, that yeah. Yeah.
Vice have done a really interesting article about chickens in the past couple of days. Oh, that will have sank in with anyone that's been following the drama and ufology. But anyway, we'll get back to our Russian vampire here. Okay, Scotty. I'll need to send that to you, man. So then, the soldier, so the warlock fell into his grave, and the soldier took the vials of blood from the warlock's pockets and went on to the house of his own people. When he had got there, and he had exchanged greetings with his relatives, they said, "Did you see any disturbances, soldier?" "No, I saw none." "There now. Why, we've a terrible piece of work going on in the village. A warlock has taken to haunting it." And after a while, they lay down to sleep. The next morning, the soldier awoke, and he began asking, "I'm told you've got a wedding going on somewhere here." "There was a wedding in the house of the rich Mujik." "Oh, the old Mujik is back, Scotty boy. He gets around this boy." So replied the relative. "But the bride and the bridegroom, they've passed away this very night. What from? Nobody knows." So they showed him.
Here's an interesting twist. What if it's the Mujik from the very first story that he became rich? Remember that?
Yeah. Hey, man, this is like the Chronicles of the Mujik. Down the rabbit hole with the Mujik.
The Mujik.
That's a cool word, though. You ever get words that are just cool? Mujik's a cool word.
It makes me think of Dragon Ball Z. Majin.
Yeah,
like Majin Buu. Yeah.
Like Mujik.
Yeah.
Wee Mujik. I'm a wee Mujik. I like that, dude. Call me the Mujik from now on. I'm just gonna self-proclaim myself as the Mujik. So they showed him the house, and thither he went, without speaking a word. Now there's an old worldly word, eh? Thither. Nobody ever scissors anywhere anymore. He just scissored to and fro. And he went without speaking a word. And when he got there, he found the whole family in tears. "What are you mourning about?" said he. "That's a bit daft. He already went there, having been told that they were, passed away." He's like, what? Did the guy forget? Has he got amnesia?
Hey, he's got to play dumb, remember? Because he was rolling around with the warlock.
Scotty Lopez has got this covered, man.
Yeah.
Why would you go
be like, some people died in here, and
perfect cover. It's like good cover if you go and just pretend play dumb. I get it, dude. I'm with you now, man. So he, after scissoring into the house without speaking a word, he asks them what's going on. And such is the state of things, soldier, they say. I can bring your young people to life again. What will you give me if I do? Take what you like, even were it half of what we've got. So the soldier did as the warlock had instructed him and brought the young people back to life. Instead of weeping, there began to be happiness and rejoicing. The soldier was hospitably treated and well rewarded. Then, left about face, off he marched to the starosta and told him to call the peasants together and to get ready 100 loads of aspen wood. Well, they took the wood into the graveyard, dragged the warlock out of his grave, placed him on the pyre and set it alight. The people all standing round in a circle. That's quite relevant. That's quite important. Magic circles. And they've got brooms, shovels, and fire irons. The pyre became wrapped in flames, and the warlock began to burn. His corpse burst, and out of it crept snakes, worms, and all sorts of reptiles. And up came flying crows, magpies, and jackdaws. The peasants knocked them down and flung them on the fire, not allowing so much as a single maggot to creep away. And so the warlock was thoroughly consumed, and the soldier collected his ashes and strewed them to the winds. From that time forth, there was peace in the village, and the soldier received the thanks of the whole community. He stayed at home some time, enjoying himself thoroughly. Then he went back to the Tsar's service with money in his pocket. And when he had served his time, he retired from the army and began to live at ease. Pretty interesting. It's got very, very similar kind of to one of the other stories that went before it.
Yeah, that there's like a common kind of theme.
Almost like it could be a kind of a difference in location. The story's just slightly different in another part of Russia than it is somewhere else, maybe. Maybe the mujik somewhere else forgot about the mujik likes a bit of beer. Maybe the mujik likes a smoke. You know what I mean?
He's the magic mujik, man.
Russians are sitting going, the mujik's a bam, Kev, he's a trickster. The mujik lies about everything. Don't believe the mujik. The mujik's like the 17th letter of the alphabet in Russia, dude. That dang mujik. Those pesky Kremlin insiders. But what we're going to do now is, I asked some of our people over in the Discord to drop some local kind of woo. And just the guy who is Just Be Happy, he has dropped some stuff from where he is, San Antonio in Texas. What do you think, Scott, right before we get into any of this, what's your initial thoughts there, man?
Oh, this is going to be good. Hey, I'm from Texas.
Lot of history.
Yeah. We're talking about a lot of Wild West, just craziness out there, man. So yeah, a lot of history, and it even goes back to. I mean, we got Native American stuff. We've got the war, Mexico and Texas, the Texas Revolution, all of that good stuff. I mean, it is just steeped in all kinds of history. So hauntings, yes, are going to be abound in Texas.
Holy
no doubt.
Moly. I said at the top of the show tonight, Scott, this is weird, right? Said at the top of the show tonight, we're going to have ghosts, we're going to have ghouls, and you never know. We might even have a goblin along the way, right? Now, I had no idea where we're going. I've just pulled this up just now. You see me getting it right there, right? And if I pull up this, and it says, a white gnome-like creature spotted on the side of the road from April this year. It's not exactly a goblin, but I think I can stretch it. It might fit, Scott.
There's so many haunting stories and just paranormal stuff out of Texas. It's like I said, I mean, I grew up part of my life in Texas, when I was young, and just heard so many stories from so many different places. It's almost like every town has its own sort of crazy paranormal spot, whether it be a haunted bridge or just like a location where something crazy had happened and people see things, and there's a lot of stuff in Texas. So I mean, as you can see, we've got an entire website that appears to be dedicated to this. So
I've dropped one in the Skype chat for us to look up as well. It's King has asked us to look for Baby Head Cemetery in Texas. That sounds terrifying. Oh, yeah, let's all go hang out at Babyhead Cemetery. No, lovely. So then, this here white gnome-like creature spotted on the side of the road. It says it stumbled out of some tall grass by the side of the road, naked and luminous in the flare of our headlights, and clearly visible for a handful of seconds. My brother drives like a mild-mannered father of four, so whatever it was had time to cast one slight, sharp glance our way, then scamper across the asphalt into some more tall grass on the side, disappearing into the southern night. We looked at each other and went, "What the?" and kept driving. We were en route to some business we couldn't around with, so that was all the hubbub we gave it. Small, chalk white, and hairless. Humanoid, but not typical. It looked like the Pillsbury Doughboy. If the Pillsbury Doughboy did meth and got Christian bailed, it also moved like it knew where it was going and had as much time for us as we had for it. Let me stop there, Scotty. Small, chalk white, and hairless. Now, if it was a bit bigger, I would say rake. But maybe a baby rake.
I mean, yeah, I was about to say the same thing. I mean, that sounds like a rake. I mean, and at least some of the accounts of the rake I've heard, sometimes it scampers across on all fours, right?
Yep.
Like he's crouched down, so maybe it did look small.
Yeah, all right enough if it's crouched over. I get you. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
it would look very small. It'd be hard to tell the size, you know.
Yeah, and obviously, yeah, it looks like a Pillsbury Doughboy on meth.
Can you imagine seeing anything like a rake? Seriously though, I would absolutely fill my. I don't even wear boxer shorts, dude. But the brown stuff would be flying out of me. I tell you that right now. We can talk about taking on like the New World Order, the Illuminati, and things like that. You put a rake in my way, I'm out of there. A rake in a prison, and I'm gone. I'm done. I'm out. I'm out of there, Scott. A rake in a prison? Oh my God.
Yeah, the rake is pretty. I would say that is probably one of the more disturbing cryptid sort of.
People talking about it might be a small grey. It could be a small grey. A grey alien, absolutely. So it says this is Texas at night in the country. You don't ask questions or look too long at something that maybe somebody didn't want you to see. True of nocturnal happenings of a questionable nature anywhere, but especially gatherings of naked people in the woods in Texas. Where Alex Jones, where rogue Ren fair activity is rife. Brown chicken, brown cow. Damn.
Texas is like
party time, dude.
Yeah, not only that, but it's like there's certain like backwoods areas of Texas where you'll be walking, all of a sudden you come across that. Well,
ZX81 makes a very valid point, aside from the fact that I hope the rake plays ding, 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 ding. But he says rakes don't usually come in a luminous variety, unless they've been bathing in some really dodgy kind of like cooling pool at a nuclear facility or something, Scott. Maybe then they might glow in the dark. I don't know.
But it could have just been the headlights reflecting off its skin, giving it the illusion.
Translucent kind of.
Translucent, yeah.
Oh, dearie me. Dearie me. So then, I'm still trying to get over the nocturnal happenings and Alex Jones running through the forest, but we'll go on. It did not look like it needed help, or like we could have caught up to it. Could it have been an animal that for some reason had the appearance of an upright gait of a human? Sure, but I've spotted all kinds of animals out here. Even jumped out of the car and chased down escaped cavies. Yep. So I generally know what I'm looking at with regards to the local wildlife. And anyone can be wrong though, and the light can play tricks. Fair play, for admitting that, but that sounds like something pretty out of the ordinary. You know, yeah, good start. Good start for San Antonio, Texas. I'm liking it.
Yeah, I think you're gonna come across a lot of really really good stories on this site. If it seems like it's really archiving some pretty interesting.
And they're all pretty recent as well, dude. Like the stories have been typed up.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing about like stuff out of Texas. It just never stops. It's like a nonstop. People are always seeing stuff out there, man. There's always something going on in Texas. It seems like when it comes to the woo.
So it says here, dark figure with a creepy smile. My grandmother was born in 1908 in Devine. She told me this story about when she was little. Back in those days, there wasn't a lot of money and most of the essentials they would reap from the land. Hunting, game, small game, and fishing. Hey, fishing. One day her mother told her to go and get some firewood and to see if she could scrounge up any rabbits. Now, she had a small scatter gun and a pocket knife. Now, she would always go to the right of the large oak, but this time she went off to the left. She knew the area well enough and travelled about half a mile where the thicket picked up. If she headed south, she would come across the creek and would follow it until she came to the road. There had been a previous rain and the banks were still damp. She opted to go north towards the neighbour's land, then follow the fence line back home. Failing to come across any game, she was getting close to the fence. Then she heard the call of a tom close by. It garbled again in its distinct call. It was beyond the fence, just south of the creek. And she never really ventured that far, but she decided for the sake of the turkey, and Mum would be so happy. After crossing the creek, she made her way up the embankment and heard the call again to her right. She walked a bit and suddenly fell into a ditch or depression in the land, and apparently from the rain. There were fallen branches that had washed up against it. Now, the ground was soft but not muddy, and as she started to make her way out of the ditch, she heard the tom behind her. This time maybe 50 feet behind her, and she was in awe and shock. The turkey was wearing shoes. Oh, dear Lord. It was the strangest thing. A shoe-wearing turkey? Now that's terrifying. Oh, I'm being serious. You come across a turkey wearing shoes, run. So she walked towards it. That's not good, Scott.
What would scare you more, a shoe-wearing turkey or a rake?
Why is there an almost chicken theme to everything we're kind of getting into here, dude?
Yeah, everything seems to be tinged with a little bit of avian.
Yeah. No blue ones yet, though. Thankfully.
No blue avians.
I have to check that. That's my mother messaging. She'll probably be saying, I've sat up till 2 a.m. to hear you talking about a rooster in shoes. Dearie me. So, as opposed to my plan of turning and running away, she walked towards it, but not too close. Sorry. She raised her shotgun, preparing to shoot the turkey. Now, as she did, she saw something even stranger. The turkey seemed to be tethered to something, like a string. No strings. Oh, hang on a minute. Now I'm confused. We've got a turkey in shoes. It seems to be tethered to something, like a string. No strings. Oh, damn. It's a quantum turkey now. It's both strung and it's not strung, Scott. Well, is it Schrodinger's turkey?
So it appeared like it was tethered to something, but like supernaturally, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
You couldn't see strings, but it looked like
Okay, you
something.
pulled it back. Good on you, man. You pulled it back. It was descending into Monty Python for me there for a moment. So she took a step back and cocked the hammer. So, what is it with that C word tonight as well? It's been everywhere in the stories. Chickens. I don't, you know what I mean? What's going on? So then the turkey fell down. It was trying to escape. Something had it tethered. She backed out the chasm and circled the top. She was just a child, 10 maybe, in the summer of 1918, and then she slowly started backing away. Now she did a figure, as she did, a figure dressed in black came forward as if from the dirt itself and motioned to her. Now he was taller than any man and gaunt, but what she remembered was the smile. A dark and a sharp smile. And he motioned again.
Ooh, that's pretty sinister. I mean,
very
sinister, dark kind of turn, man.
It could be like a shadow dude that came out the dirt, man.
Yeah, I was about to say, that sounds a lot like Slender Man, kind of.
Oh, you went full Slender Man? Oh, man. So she turned.
Hey!
All right, so hang on. She runs at this point. So that's a pretty good gauge of how ballsy this chick is. A turkey with shoes, not a problem. Big guy materializing out the dirt, out of there. Good on you.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's done the math. Then onward home. When she reached the house, she was hysterical. She told her mother what had happened and that she had dropped the shotgun somewhere along the creek. It was still early in the day, and when her father came home, they recounted her story. He was not amused, and he went back to the creek with her two brothers in tow and forced to retrace the footsteps. No man in black, no turkey, but what they did find had come out of the mud was turkey figures and a pair of small shoes, and two footprints that seemed to lead back into the mud. We'll be right back.
Ooh, whoa.
Oh, I just managed to get through it. How cool is that, eh? Ding.
So they found turkey feathers and a pair of shoes.
Not good.
And then two footprints that seem to lead back into the mud. That is bizarre. That is so weird.
Isn't it?
See, that's the kind of weird stuff that comes out of Texas,
Right.
man. These are the kind of weird stories that, like, you hear about. It's like, what the hell?
I'm going to put the tunes on, Scott. I'm going to go make a quick coffee. And then that gives us 3 minutes. I'll be back. Scotty will be back. We've got 1 hour to go.
Guys.
Yes, and we will get the phones open as well. Let me find the music. Here we go. And I'll go and get my coffee. Here we go. There we go. There we go. I'm back, folks. Never fear. Coffee. There's Scotty as well. You see? Quick. Just like that. Boom. Coffee. Done.
Just wait until quantum, when you can just like
The replicator.
replicator, yeah, just replicate a cup of coffee. Right?
Wouldn't that be awesome, though, dude? You could be like, you could say, Kev, I went to a really nice restaurant with my mum, my dad, my brothers, and, you just give me the name of it. Bada bing, bada boom. I could just like 3D print it right here, man. Wouldn't have to leave my home, get exactly the same as what you had. That day's coming soon. I think maybe that. Maybe that's a bit far, but you know what I'm saying?
That technology.
Here we go. Sorry, Scott. Here we go.
Yes.
Get the phones. Yeah, I don't know why I started the alarm sound, Scott. but we went with it. We went with it anyway.
It's a Wookiee emergency.
Is that because we've got the phones open, Mr. Scott? Look at that. Look at that. So then, if you want to take over where we have left off, please feel free. I love opening up the phones for all of you to share your stories, your woo with all of us. And I've been looking forward to this part of the show all night, Scott. We get such great stuff. You never know what's coming next. Some people might fear that. I love it. I think it's brilliant. You get to know people better, and I don't know, it makes it more personal, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. And we always get really, really, really good calls that come into the show. So I mean, it's really good stuff. I mean, our fans out there are really, really cool people, and they jive on the same wavelength that we do, and so they provide just as much content as we do, and yeah, if you guys got any really, really crazy ghost stories or even like local legends around your area that maybe you haven't personally experienced but that you've heard about, in the area that you live or whatever, call in and tell us, or if there's something you want us to maybe look up from your area, or if there's something that you think that we haven't seen, we can definitely, get into some stuff. But yeah, I think we already have.
Now, we've got a caller on the line. It's Leslie. Yep. I know she's been wanting to call in for a while. So, Leslie, welcome to Freaky Friday.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, how you doing? It's nice to finally talk to you, Leslie.
Hi.
And thank you for support. Yeah, thanks for supporting the show. Thanks for always hanging around in the chat room. And what kind of woo have you got for me and Scotty then?
Oh, I have too much woo. Oh, goodness. I'm kind of freaking out right now. I can't believe this just happened. I wasn't ready for it. Big fan. Love your show. I've been listening since like 2017. So I'm just happy for you. You're doing your own thing. I love everybody in the chat. And thank you for introducing me to the whole community, basically. I owe it all to you, honestly.
Aw.
So,
Leslie,
we can.
You've been warmly welcomed because you fitted in like a hand in a glove. You're our type of people. I think you get people that are on the same frequency that are into our kind of woo. But listen, nobody wants to hear from me right now.
Yeah, you get deep. You get deep. I wanted to say, I think you're humble, but sometimes you'll say, oh, I'm just doing woo. And I know you get heavy, especially when you talk about quantum stuff. And honestly, you told me about I'm going to mispronounce it, Birkeland currents.
Yeah, the Birkeland currents. Yeah.
I'm not going to name the channel out, but you were like, don't listen to them. And I was so glad you told me because I checked into it. And no good.
Yeah, Leslie.
So I wanted to call about a dream.
Go for it. Tell us then.
Well, I wanted to send a message to that synchronicity. I walk a lot. I don't want to go much into my mother and everything, but I walk a lot because I take care of my mom, this kind of thing. I don't have a car right now at the moment, so boots on the ground. These boots, you know, I like to make jokes a lot. And I see a lot of weird stuff in Ohio, and basically, trust it, whether you call it your gut, your higher self. I call it the Holy Spirit, but I mean, to each his own. Trust it, you know. It's weird out there, and I love this whole community because we can all talk about it right now. I don't know how much longer we'll be afforded that. I pray for it, so I'm enjoying it. I get a little frantic about it, to be honest. But yeah. So dream wise, I don't know. I have so many. I have a lot of lucid dreams lately. You know, I don't know
Take
if
your
anybody else. Have
Leslie.
you experienced that,
Leslie,
Lizzie?
you take your time, right? Tell us about one of your latest dreams because we don't have any more callers on the line right now. So you can take your time
Okay.
and tell us about if you had to pick one of your dreams. I mean, what's the most profound one you've had lately?
Well, I had one in my childhood. I'll tell you about some other time because I'll call again. But I have a lot of dreams. I think like our brains ultimately are like computers. Just a personal opinion. A lot of data. So I'll have dreams where a cow's talking to me, and I'll see, you know, I mean, all sorts of weird pop.
Oh,
So, it seems random, right? And I would think that garbage in. I don't know if you guys have heard that garbage in, garbage out.
oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So our brains do so many extraordinary things, you know. Then there's message streams, and I don't know about you, but when I have those, I know they're real. I'm there. I'm present, and I just feel the message. You know, I talk to a lot of skeptics. Oh, it's a coping mechanism because maybe a lost loved one came in or whatever. Like my dad, he came in. This one dream I had recently was all sepia tone, which is odd, right? Sepia tone, the whole thing, Kev. Sepia tone. I live in Ohio now, but I grew up in Corpus Christi in Texas, and so my childhood house and my mom. This isn't for like sympathy, you know, because everyone's been praying anyway. She has cancer, and but she's there. She's on the porch. He comes in this weird. Sounds so nuts. Um, Kind of steampunk, and a little bit of the old and the new. Okay, so think of like a vehicle that's, yeah, a bit of that. Um, he comes in, and I know he's there though, because he came to me one other time to tell me to just kind of clean myself up right after he, you know, get it together. But in this dream, he comes up and he shows up in at my childhood house, and um, he says I need more oil. So I'm like, that's kind of weird, you know. And um, he tells me that he needs money for oil for his car. And there's a bunch of, I think, Wizard of Oz kind of references there. But, you know, he keeps talking about the importance of oil. And he was a prepper, like, like before he passed. Like he'd tell me revelations, all these things are coming. And everyone would laugh at him. And I didn't. I was listening, but he said it was coming, you know. He wanted to send my mom away. So she went into the house and yeah, it was just odd. He asked me for
Do you think, Leslie, do you think...
money, and the thing that's so weird was he asked for a bill of money, and it was a bill that was $24, which is, I don't know what that means. 24. So I handed him a bill of $24, and he was about to go. He says, "What's going on in this world?" And it was all lucid. And then I see 3 blue comets or meteor or asteroids. Excuse me. I'm just nervous, and that was the end of the dream. But I knew he was coming in to tell me it's going down, and no one else in my family believes me,
Wow, Scotty, that's well, Leslie, that is really that's some story. What do you make of that, Scott? And when you see somebody that's passed.
Hey, what's going on? Nah, definitely. Like I'm totally on board with this because I've had my own dream experiences with people who have passed in my family. Both my grandfathers and my best friend who passed away back in 2013. They've all appeared to me multiple times in dreams, and they continue to. So it's not like something that just occurred as like a coping mechanism shortly after. This is like a long term.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and
when you're trying to talk to you. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like a totally different feeling of dream too. Like it's different. It's that somebody came to you to give you a message or say something to you, and you actually wake up feeling like, oh, like it's a much heavier feeling than just, oh, I just had a dream and that person was in the dream. It's much.
It's weird that you missed it. I woke up crying, but not because I was sad, because I thought it was beautiful. I felt black.
Yeah, it's that.
It was the second time he came to me to talk to me,
Yeah, it's a very it's like a rush of emotion that overtakes you, like when you wake up. Yeah. Very, very interesting. Yeah. So no, I'm totally with you on this because I've experienced the same thing. So yeah, I'm a total believer in that. I believe that people can people from on the other side, whatever, if they've moved on to the next level, if they're on um a higher plane of existence, I guess you could say, they can still communicate with you, because I've said on the show many times that I believe that when you're dreaming, your brain is accessing other dimensions. I'm
beginning to believe that, buddy.
Yeah, it literally it is, because how can you explain your mind creating faces and locations and buildings and all these details of places that you've never been to in real life and that you've never seen? How is your brain doing that?
Yes, yeah, where I've met people where I'd have a dream and I'd be so upset when I'd leave the dream, because I'd be like, no, because it's somebody I'd never met before, and it would upset me. I don't know. Or I have deja vu in a dream, things like that. But when I bring it up to folks around my family, they're like, oh, you're just not, people, whatever.
I've had the same thing. I've had the same thing where I've experienced deja vu within the dream, to where it felt like what I was doing in the dream I have done before. Very weird.
It's not a dream either, right? Yeah, it's something different. It's totally different, and just not that it's that it makes us better. I think a lot of people can tap into it. That's the thing about gifts. I think we all have it. There's synchronicity. I've noticed walking around a lot lately in the air, and we can all tap into it. It's not, oh, I'm better than you. Like, I try to tend to stay away from like the terms like psychic or this or that, gifted, because I think we all have it.
I think you're right. I think we do all have it. I just think some of us are better than others at tuning in. It's like I've often tried to meditate, Leslie, and it's something I can't do. There's just too much going on in my mind. It doesn't matter how much I try to kind of blank and quieten my mind. But yeah, I think we are all connected. I hear you on that. Yeah, I think we are all connected in there, Scott. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We all have that ability. It's just that some people are naturally able to. That ability is elevated in people, certain individuals, and but we all have that. We all have that ability, and there's also ways of like training yourself to harness that power. That's why when people start, looking into meditation and all that, and I know that there's a lot of people out there who say that that's dangerous or whatever, or opens you up to things.
I hear you. I grew up in that whole thing. It's new age. It's too much. It's evil. Oh,
Yeah.
I'll take that for another call. Believe me, that'll be fine. But
No,
I know
we
exactly
don't.
what you're saying.
We don't have any. We don't have any other callers on the line right now. And Luna, who is going to be one of my guests from Down Under next weekend, she's talking about we walk. I need to find that comment again. It was really brilliantly put. Where till I find it here? Where's Luna? Oh, I'm not going to be able to find it now.
I'd love to hear. I think I know what you're saying, because when you say you have a hard time sleeping, believe me, my racing thoughts have racing thoughts. And they go and go and go. And sometimes I love to think they're all positive. But I mean, Kev, some nights it's just not quite like that, especially lately, So,
Well,
lots of aromatherapy and lava lamp.
So, more recently then, the dreams haven't been nice?
No, they've been okay. They've been a bit random. If I have time, I'll bring up one that's haunted me since childhood. It's real simple. It's a weird dream, though.
And before you get into that, Luna was saying, dreaming, we walk in the dreaming. I like that, because I do think we go other places. And we're going to have a super chat coming in just a second from our good friend Julian over at Lessons for Life. And Julian is like me. Julian's growing himself a rather fantastic hairdo, because we can't get our hair cut at the moment because of things that are going on right now. But Julian, thank you so much for that. We'll just wait for that to come in, and then we'll get Leslie's story about her childhood dream. There we go.
Great topic, guys. Keep dreaming.
Yes, indeedy. We will keep dreaming. And talking of dreaming, Leslie, tell us about your childhood dreams.
Oh, please. Well, it's a dream, but I mean, it could be a nightmare. I don't know. It really has haunted me since childhood. Okay, it's gonna sound weird. Into the physics of a dream. I don't want to go into like that movie Inception. It's not for everybody. I love that director though.
It's a good movie. I like that movie. I must admit, I do like Inception. Yeah.
Yes.
I do like Inception, but I think Prestige. It's one of my favorites. But yeah, I feel like sometimes I could be walking in a dream. When you talk about simulation, Kev, it really inspires me and it weirds me out too. I'm like, oh, like that all, it's hard to prove,
I don't think we can ever prove it. I don't think we can ever prove it. But, when I talk about the dreams as well, the simulation, that is never intended for anyone listening. That's not to take away from what life is. It's still just as real as what it's ever been. It's just the kind of construct, how it works type thing. Because I know some people say, oh, King Sweet, thank you so much.
I find it fascinating. I do. When you start talking about simulation, I'm like, whoa. Like, I want to write in chat, like, just, whoa.
If you watch, if you ever watch Scott on Facebook playing his computer game, you'd rather watch him than me because I'm terrible. But, you watch him and you're looking through the eyes of the player he's controlling. And when you just open your mind a bit, you can see yourself that it's pretty much what happens when you're going about your daily life. Whatever's in front of you, your hands, you're seeing them, the world in front of you, and the world behind you and to the side of you that you don't see. I mean, you don't see it, so you don't necessarily, it doesn't necessarily even have to be there until you turn round, like Scott turns in the game and the game.
Quantum kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit weird.
Like the world behind you, the observer effect, that whole idea.
Yep. Good woo, Leslie. Good. Leslie, this is good woo. Now we do have another caller on the line, Leslie, but I want to thank you so much. I know you've been waiting to call in.
Sure.
Scott, I'm going to let you say something to Leslie before she goes as well, because it's been a great call, right?
Yeah, Leslie.
Thank you so much.
I've always been fascinated with the whole dream thing, and I'm glad that you brought that up because I've had so many similar experiences in my dreams as well. And it sounds like we kind of share the same sleep pattern. We don't sleep very well, but when we do, there's a weirdness going on. So
Right. Groovy. It's always groovy, for sure, Scotty.
yeah. So yeah, man. Thanks for calling in with that. The whole topic is just
Sure.
really
I don't want to keep you guys from other calls. I'll call in some other time with the weird ones from my childhood. But thank you so much for having me. I love you guys. I love the chat.
Leslie. Oh, Leslie, we love you right back. We love everyone that listens to the show, and thank you so much for being patient and calling, and it was well worth the wait. Thank you.
Thanks, Kev.
No
Thanks,
problem.
Scotty. Take care.
You take care, and we will keep bringing the woo to you, Leslie. And yeah, the computer game versus reality. You know, it's fascinating when you get into that, and there's so many comparisons you can make to the human body, the input-output systems that a computer's got, your eyes are your webcams, your ears are your microphones. You know, I'm telling you, man, it's all going on. Where do you remember stuff? How can you just recall things? How can your computer just bring things up? Oh, wait a minute.
Why do you think Elon Musk refers to it as IO? He's like, our IO is too slow. We don't we need more bandwidth.
We do.
And that's where the place.
Now we're gonna go to our next caller, and I'm gonna hold them because we've only got 5 minutes till the break. But I know, and Scott knows, that our next caller, he needs more than 5 minutes because it's our good friend, our brother from the same mother, Mother Earth, Kevin Nacy from the Anishinaabe tribe. See, you impressed with that, brother?
Anishinaabe, yes, correctly. Thank you for that. And thank you again for taking my call and letting me babble on and babble on.
Dude, you're welcome to Babylon and my Babylon any day of the week. You know that. You don't have to thank me. In fact, I'm going to make a new rule. I'm going to be offended if you tell me that you're very grateful for me taking your call. I thank you for calling in, Kev.
Well, I appreciate those words, and it's very generous of you to be such a sweet man to everybody, and that's why I love you so much. And Scott, I love to hear you chime in with the woo. But the one thing that I've been pondering.
Oh man, that was a brilliant Wookiee. Kevin, do that one more time. Do the Wookiee one more time, man. So, wait a minute, Scott, because now we've got a Wookiee that does that. You see, Kev, you are now saved on the soundboard. You are now one of our resident Wookiees. Does that disturb you at all?
Well, one little thing that we used to do when I was in the movies, the women wouldn't talk back to us. That was not allowed at all.
Oh, wow. Kev is dropping the impersonations tonight.
It was a very good Connery there.
I'm quite taken aback, my friend. I am. So, Kev.
Well, I am multi-talented. But
oh, you are multi-talented. Now, we've been talking about like real deep kind of woo tonight. We've had the Russian stuff, the vampires. We were talking Texas. We were getting into some hauntings there. Australia, some pretty kind of not as crazy as I would have thought, but I think there's more to be had on Australia. I'm going to dig on that. But you, I mean, you must have heard some stories over the years. I mean, you yourself have experienced so much. But the paranormal, the woo, I mean, any general thoughts or have you got a story to share with us?
Well, the other day you guys were talking about in the locks of Scotland.
of all these creatures. And so I have a story here in North America. If you look on the maps and if you see names of Devil Town or Devil Mountain or Devil's Lake, that was a highly regarded area by the Native Americans. And it was usually an area when they would commune with the Creator or spirit. That's another word. However, in North Dakota, we have a place that's called Devil's Lake, North Dakota. I used to go up in that area and do sweat lodges. One time while there in a sweat lodge, there was an elder that was asked a question about Devil's Lake, and I didn't catch the original question, but I caught the story. And the story goes as followed, that according to this elder, within Devil's Lake, there is a creature. And this family is known to go and feed the creature at sunset every day. They would bring stuff to the edge of the lake, and the creature would come up and feed. At one time, the family, for reasons unknown to me, had to go somewhere else, and they asked a nephew to go and bring this food to the lake, and told them, you know, just take the food, put it on the shoreline, and leave. And so he did exactly what he was instructed. But then when he went to the shoreline and left the food, and he went to leave, he started hearing noises as he left. And then he turned around and he's like, I'm going to go and check this out. But the minute he started back, it was as if whatever was there at the shoreline knew he was coming back and immediately went back into the water because he heard the commotion of the water. And then when he went upon the edge of the lake, everything was gone, and it looked like there was something enormous, 3 times the size of a man, that came up on the shore. Not like all the way onto the shore, because they, you know, they're adamant about leaving it right on the edge of the lake. But if you've been to a lake in the area and how they got sand usually up towards the shoreline, that the individual said that they could tell that within the shoreline and the edge of the water, that it was disrupted enough that it was something that was at least 3 times the length of a man.
Wow.
Cool.
That's very interesting. You know, and those lakes up in Minnesota, I mean, we're talking about around the Great Lakes area. A lot of those lakes were formed from glacial melt and glaciers carving into the ground, much like how Loch Ness
Yeah,
was.
so
Those
you could have a remnant cryogenically frozen, Scott. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's the same kind of, I would say, like ecological conditions that you would find this kind of stuff. And
let me ask Kev if there's any other similarities to the Scottish lake / loch monsters. Over here, Kev, we're told that they commonly take on the shape of a horse, actually, when they're known to come out of the water, and they're known in mythology, Scottish history, to be kelpies, shape-shifting water spirits. Any any kind of shape-shifting quality to this that you know of, anything like that?
That I am not sure of, but our people, the Anishinaabe people, they talk about the mer people. They talk about the people that live in the water, and not like myth or legend or anything, but they talk about, like, there's a legend of the 7, they call them the 7 grandfathers that came out of the water and taught great lessons to the people. You know, and if you look at like the migration story of the Anishinaabe people,
they used to encompass 1/3 of North America, and they were all the way to the Atlantic seaboard. And at one time, there was a prophecy that there was going to be a cataclysmic event, and they needed to get away from the shoreline because of the rising and lowering from tides. Well, the prophecy was that in the western sky, a large Megas shell will rise, and they're supposed to follow the Megas shell. And if you look at a Megas shell, it looks like the Palladians ship.
How are you
who was the
spelling that,
one-
Kev? How, do you know how to spell that at all?
MEGIS.
Okay, hang on. MEGIS.
Megas shell. And this Megas shell, it rose in the sky at 3 different times or time periods, and the people followed it all the way till they came upon the water or the food that grows upon the water, which is monomen, or what is commonly known as wild rice.
That's pretty crazy, man. Ah, Scotty, I was looking for the wrong thing there. I'll bring that up. Mega shell. That's pretty cool, though, Scott, right? Oh, I'm going to bring that up on the screen now for people to see. Oh, I just closed everything down.
But if you look at that Mega shell, it'll look like I can't remember the one-eyed gentleman that used to get all of the really good pictures of the Palladians. Dang it. I just for the life of me, I'm not remember his name. But I think there were some allegations of doctoring some of the photos because his ego got away with me because his original photos were so spectacular. He wanted to keep on with that attention, but I haven't vetted that enough to make a good discernment on it. But from the perspective,
you can definitely tell how it resembles a UFO or something that could be spotted in the sky. So that's very, very interesting.
and talk about some woo, but since I've been on the phone with you, my secondary phone has gone off 3 different times, and my TV in the living room was talking.
Whoa. Whoa, that's not good, dude. That's not good.
Well, I ward up my home, and so for the most part, I can confidently said, and I do not need to offend any entities that are here with me, because I respect all entities for their existence. But if you are a negative entity, you're not welcome in my home. And so I do put up wards, or I do protect my domicile.
Have you had problems with entities in the house before, Kev?
I've had my share of experiences with things that I cannot quite explain, and people that come to my home have also, if they've stayed for any length of time. Currently, I believe it's been my father who's been around a lot in the last couple months.
Wow.
But I do have those occurrences of where I will put things in, and I'll say some of them are just maybe some memory pauses, but there's many times where I specifically know I put something somewhere on the counter, and then I'll go to retrieve it, and then it will be like 10 to, a couple feet moved to the side.
I'm getting
Because
this a heck of a lot these days, Kev. It's something I never really used to suffer from. But because it's getting nice weather over here now, and we're allowed out twice a day, yay! I sometimes run out the back when I see the sun coming out. And in Scotland, the sun coming out is like a paranormal event anyway. So You have to run out there quick to catch it. And I come in, I go out, come in, go out, and I'll be in maybe 5 minutes. I'll have put the keys down at the kettle, put the kettle on, make myself coffee. I drink far too much coffee. I go to way to do something, I come back through, I pour my coffee, go to pick up the keys, no keys. I'll go away again, Scotty, you know, I'll have a look around and retrace my steps. Now, one time I found them where they originally were, and another time they were through here in the living room. I don't know. Either I'm getting old and potty, which could be, you know, I'm not saying it, I'm perfect. I could well be getting forgetful, but I see a lot of people talking about this, Scott. I call them like personal item Mandelas, you know?
No, I've experienced the same thing.
You too, man. That's interesting,
yeah,
man.
Yeah, and it seems to be occurring a lot more often with people too, like in general. And you gotta wonder, I mean, maybe what if some of these, like, have you ever put an item somewhere and then it's like it just completely disappears for a long time, and then like weeks later you end up finding it again, like exactly where it was supposed to be, but you looked there over and over and over and it was not there. Like sometimes I wonder if some of these items are like blipping out of existence or being teleported to another dimension, and then, or maybe they're phasing out and then they phase back in, you know, right where they were at, you know, they just kind of phase out, they're gone for a while and they phase back in. You know, that
well, I could share
with, yeah, go ahead, man, go ahead.
I could share that experience. Last summer, I was going to Sundance, and I have some traditional garb, and one of my favorite traditional outfits is I have a deer hide shirt, and I wanted to bring this to Sundance. And so we're getting everything ready to go to Sundance, and the deer hide shirt, I have all of my regalia in the same exact spot in my closet. After I use it, if I go to powwows or ceremonies, I take it off and I put it exactly where it is, because that's just me. Because I'm blind, I need to make sure that things are where I remember them. And so I asked my assistants to help grab my stuff, and they couldn't find my deer hide shirt. I had 5 different people go through the entirety of the house trying to find that deer hide shirt, and it was nowhere to be found. And I was really distraught about it. And I'm still missing my navy black shirt, which is still distraught because I had those at the same time and they disappeared at the same time. We get back from Sundance, and I have a friend who's here helping me put everything away. And we're putting stuff away, and I brought my ribbon shirt because I couldn't find my deer hide shirt. I brought my ribbon shirt for ceremony down there. And they say, hey, where do you want your ribbon shirt? And I said, it goes in my closet. On the back side, you'll see where, you know, my daughter's jingle dresses and traditional garb are. And he's like, okay. And he went to go put it away. And I said, I'm really bummed out that I wasn't able to bring my deer hide shirt, because it's my favorite to do ceremony in it, because I believe it gets charged up when I use that shirt and go to ceremony. And he's like, are you talking about this one? And I'm like, what? He goes, there's a deer hide shirt right here with fringe. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, it's hanging right here.
Whoa.
And I'm like, no way.
Wow.
So I roll into my bedroom. I'm like, you're kidding. Where is it? He's like, right here. I opened up the closet. It's right here.
Ooh.
And I'm like, a 2-tone deer hide shirt, like comes down to the mid-thigh with fringe. And he's like, yeah. And he lifts it up and he puts it in my lap. And I got like the goosebumps, and I got that WTF, like, you know, and this is what happens in my experiences. You know, I made the joke that because it was in South Dakota and it was in the end of July, where it was getting like 110 degrees during the day a couple times, that I made the joke it was my father hitted on me because he's like, you knucklehead trying to go to ceremony and wear that leather shirt out in that heat, you'd be a fool.
That's a brilliant story, man.
Because that is something my father would do.
Kev, you, as usual, a very, very rare treat, and always feel a lot better after you've graced us with your presence on the show. And today, no different, man, no different. Now, we did have another caller on the line, but they've dropped off, so I was going to move on, Kev, but no, you're stuck with me and Scott now. So, now, one of our callers...
There's nothing wrong with that, because I love universe.
Well, one of our callers earlier on, Leslie, she mentioned the fact that she had a dream in which there was asteroids or comets. Kev, you're one guy that's been very tireless on the whole Planet X, Nibiru, comets, asteroids. I mean, it's a no-brainer to ask your thoughts, but what's your latest thoughts on all of that?
Although I cannot, and I choose not to put dates out there, but
don't do it. Don't do it. Don't put a date out there, man. Don't do it. Oh, it's fatal.
If we look at the discernment of the powers that should not be are constantly using their shenanigans to get their deeds done. And they claim about the 2012 Mayan prophecy occurring in the solstice. And that was a total misinterpretation of their calendar system. And the Mayans, although they would hold some type of ceremony and give high regards to the solstice, it would also be on the equinoxes. And so if we look in historical of where balance occurs, it's the equinox. And then if we look at the sacrifice of the heavenly sun to where you marked your door for the Passover of the disease to occur, and if the heavenly gods frown upon our decisions, then will they nudge one way or another an asteroid heading this way? Or will we be able to witness it on a grand scale and realize our miraculousness of how precious every moment is? Because we know through history there has been an asteroid that has struck the Earth. And if you look at the Georgia Guidestones, would it not also be interesting that the powers that should not be are in league with extraterrestrials and are willing to sacrifice their own to either fulfill a debt of food or in a debt to direct an asteroid to cause a major uplifting in the ocean to where there's a mingling of the waters above the firmament? And so then there is nothing to be eaten because all of the water is destroyed, and there's no food to be eaten because of the cataclysm that occurred. And so then the only viable source of food
Soylent Green
returning to cannibalism.
Soylent Green. Damn, dude, that was like, what a call, man. You took us to the Guidestones. You took us to Soylent Green. And all of that from asking you about Planet X, Kev. You take things to the next level, and that's why I love you, man. Absolutely love you. But, you know, you think about what Kev was talking about there, the Passover and everything else. Very interesting times that we live in, Mr. Scotty.
Indeed. And, you know, we could be talking about another cycle repeating because we talk about a lot of these like the tribes, the tribes down in the Southwest, like the Anastasi and other tribes as well, other native tribes, talking about how they were told of a impending cataclysm, right? And that they needed to prepare themselves and go underground and all of this stuff. And, maybe we're just talking about another one of these cycles that is ready to occur once again. And, like Kev said, can't really put a date on any of this. We really can't. And if anybody is putting a date on it, I've got some oceanfront property in Arizona to sell you.
Nice. Nice. And I'll go in the chat room once, Kev, to know that everyone in the chat absolutely loves when you call in as well. Now, we've still got somebody trying to phone into the show. Will I try and risk it, or is it just going to be like somebody swearing at me?
Nah.
I don't know why that's happening, man. And Spooky Andy knows he could message me on Facebook. I hope I'll check my Facebook. I don't think it's Spooky Andy. He would know just to call on Skype, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think there may be shenanigans afoot, so I wouldn't.
Our buddy Bob. I love you, buddy Bob.
It might be Bob. I don't know, man. I don't know. Oh no, I said his name. I wasn't going to say his name. I don't know who it is, but we're almost out of time, Kev. I want to thank you, man.
Literally or metaphorically?
Oh, just for the show. We're never out of time. Time goes on. Time goes on, my friend. It may loop back on itself, cross over, and there may be many other different times, worlds, universes out there, as you like to say, Kev. And I don't know, but I will look forward to the next time you call into the show, because it's always good to hear you, man.
I appreciate it, and Ape Gish Bimadazi Wayman. Remember, you are the miraculous perfection of the unique individual entities, and treat each other as such. And maybe the extraterrestrials will grace us and give it a really good nudge, so it rams into Mercury, and then we go to war because of it.
Oh, nice. Drop the mic, Kev. That's it, man.
Toodles.
He took us. Toodles to you, my friend. You've got to love that, right? You got to love it. We've got one more caller, but we've only got like 20 seconds left. I can't go there. Daniel in Quebec. Oh man, he's got an 888 area code. Oh dang, lots of like synchronicities with numbers going on there. Why does something tell me? My gut tells me I need to take that call. You need to call in the next time we're on the Kev Baker show or something, man. I've got that little belly feeling.
Yeah, Daniel from Quebec next week.
I feel the woo, man. I feel the woo. Until next time, folks, wherever you are, make it TFR. Don't touch that dial. And stay tuned. The portal, Paranormal portal, awaits you right here on TFRlive.com. Oh, yeah. Yes, indeedy. Now, I know that we've got the phone line on Skype, but with it being like just turning 3 a.m. in the morning, and Scott, may I thank you for partaking in what turned out to be a very, very infotaining Freaky Friday, my friend, but it's taken the juice clean out of me, man.
Yeah, it was a very woo-filled episode. It was just oozing. It was effervescing with.
Whoa! Hang on. Give us that again, Scott. Give us that again.
What, effervescing?
Word of the day, my friend. Word of the day. Yep. I bestow the new award that I've just created right here at 3 minutes to 3 a.m. 3 minutes to 3. You want a little bit of number, weird number woo, and it's going to be a rhetorical kind of question, folks, right? Because I'm going to drop this, and I'm going to drop the outro, and myself and Scott are going to drop our mics, and we're going to get out of here. And Schmiegel's even laughing. But I know that by this time tomorrow, there's going to be a bajillion different theories flying about out there, right? And do you know why there's going to be a bajillion different theories out there? Tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a long wait, but the world of football takes its first tentative steps back into playing, right? Now, German league, Scott, they're going to be playing behind closed doors. They've done everything apart from put these people in human condoms. And do you know how many fans are allowed into the stadium, Scott? Do you know how many spectators are allowed into an 80,000-seater stadium?
Let me guess. 33,000.
No. 322. Keep your mind open. Keep looking for the woo, but not to the point where your brain turns to black goo. And on that note, that number, we leave you. We thank you for being here, and you heard it here first. I ain't making any theories, but I guarantee by tomorrow there'll be plenty out there. 322 going to the German football matches. Have a great day if you're going. If not, tune in to the Kev Baker live stream right here on KBS2.
How dare you?
Oh, Greta, I dare.